This is the town council preliminary budget committee hearing for the citizens of the town of Seco. Notice is hereby given a public hearing will be held at town council's preliminary adopted budget for fiscal 2015-16 as follows. Hearings, first of all, are going to be all funds except school fund and school cap reserve. We're going to have today's date, April 13th, 2015, 6 p.m. The next hearing will be on the school fund and capital reserve fund. Pursuant to Rhode Island General Law 4246-6C, notice that this meeting has been posted to the Secretary of State's website, and I would like to have all of you join me for a salute to the flag. United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just a couple of quick notes. There's a sign-up sheet for anybody who would like to speak. No one will be prevented from having a word or two to say. We would like to keep this about you and what opinions you have. If we could keep it succinct and to the point where we're going to be around 3 minutes. If something is of relative importance and needs to go a little over that, I'll ask the council if that's what they would like to do, but the time frame is about 3 minutes. If anybody needs an interpreter, do we have an interpreter?
They have to request that 3 days prior to the
Oh, I'm sorry. So that request would have been made 3 days prior to the meeting. As you know, at this point in time, I think I'm just going to turn this part of it over to Mr. Emery to give us a quick overview of where the budget stands right now. And if you'll just give him a few minutes.
Thank you. The tax rate that's been approved at this point by the State of Rhode Island Department of Revenue is $19.44. As you may be aware, the present rate is $18.91. The state does as a 2.81% increase in the rate. The levy is 3.5%. Leaving us $359,893 below the cap of 4%. Just very quickly, a couple of just for everyone's information, the number of items that go into the increase on the town side. The general operating termination is an increase of $244,067. That covers retiree health care, OPEB, and termination pay. General operating utilities increased preliminarily $40,625. I emphasize there, and this is a preliminary budget. The fire pension, the money required increase has gone to $190,735 increase. Fire classified full-time to $13,628 contractual increases, retro and FICA. On that issue, some folks have said, well, gee, where's the savings? Well, that line item is paying for 2 years of retroactive pay as part of the agreement, as well as the FICA. That will have to go with that. If you're looking at what the number would be, if you had 415, you would add $1.7 million to that bottom line of the fire full-time classified. Fire safety equipment is up $17,000 for new pets. And the units we presently have are going to be handled by the company. Police classified full-time, $346,878. That's a contractual increase in FICA. Their MERS required pension increase is $22,527. The rates for police, fire, and town employees are 3 different rates. There's a sewer line item of payment to QVC that's at 20% of the total amount for buying. That's $128,000. council decision to do that. Highway increases, $83,121 for vehicles, and material increases. And highway overlay, $500,000. That's a new tax appropriation since last year's money for repaving was taken from the undesignated fund balance. So the pound increase applicable to the $1,705,106 in taxes. In fact, those things that I just read off are $1,786,581. We've looked at our other revenues, and while they're not producing what we'd like this year, we're pretty much sticking with those numbers for fiscal 16.
Any comments from any members of the council, please, Carol?
I have a question. Have we had any money left over at the end of the budget season to put into the undesignated fund, or have we used everything?
I think 2 or 3 years ago, it might have been $150,000 for that waiting fund.
Thank you.
I have to go back and check that to be exact. Kevin?
In that case, I'd like to open up the public comment section of the meeting. First up would be Jules Cohen. Would you be kind enough to state your name and your address, please, for us?
Sure.
Thank you.
Jules Cohen, 85 Town Road, North Kingston. I'm here as the president of the group known as the Friends of Beach, senior association. I know you folks are quite familiar with that whole game over there. And of course, we're serving in support of the Beechwood Center for Life Enrichment, which is taking care of some of you are too young to know this, it's 55 folks and older. We have two roles really as the Friends of Beechwood. One is to help raise money, and the second is to help produce volunteers. And of course that helps with the economies of the center, and we've been able to have some success in it. We probably have over 225 volunteers, and all garnered 13,000 hours of volunteerism. So I'm not going to keep blabbing the statistics. That's not my major vision here. I'm here in support of our request for additional funding. And I will not replicate Marie's numbers and statistics unless you want to be here for a few more hours. Thank you, first of all, for your support. Seriously. All the feedback I get is to the council and Mike, you know, how good you've been to us through the years, so I'm sure it's not going to be complaining. Rather, I am preaching to the choir, because I'll tell you, just trying to help you with a lot of your decision making. I should point out to start with that I'm not a youngster. I'm 81. I have, my wife and I have 7 kids, 13 grandchildren, and 1 great-grandchild. You've got to assume that we know something about the problems in getting a good education for our kids. And we understand certainly that's a major thrust for the town's budget. But now, you know, I'm at the point where I'm an old guy, you know, and talking now for the seniors. I'm one of them. And many of the seniors have the same experience. We've lived, we've worked in schools, we've volunteered, and we've paid our taxes and all the other good stuff, and so it's our chance to be heard, really. When I talk about seniors, the best numbers I have is that we're about 30% of the population of North Kingstown. So we're a very significant group, you know, and we pay taxes, and we spend money, and we vote. And now we're here to be heard. Our senior population is growing. Baby boomers are increasing. We're going to have what we call life expectancy. We're living longer. So I guess I at 60, I could have gone the other way, but I'm here at an older age, and that's the life expectancy. And the use of Beechwood is growing significantly. The Friends of Beechwood alone, since I've been involved, has grown from over 700 members to over 1,000. You don't have to be a member of the Friends of Beechwood to be using Beechwood. And we probably had about almost 2,900 people use Beechwood last year. So I won't get involved with this.
Hold on a second. Mr. Collins went over the 3 minutes. I can see it, but hold on a second. Please, continue on. This is important.
I'll keep it with his head.
Well, I'll give you another 3 minutes.
A lot of our people at Beechwood come in for the social services. They're getting you familiar with it. We have our caregivers, our Medicare advisory, family education, income tax, and you name it. We've got to do Alzheimer's group that's just started. We add to that the fact that we're working closely with a lot of outside groups. South County Hospital, Hospice, Bar Association, Wild Plant Society, Master Gardeners, and so on, ADRP, visiting nurses, and well on. And then, of course, we have more programs, the fun programs, so the drug ones. You all get the books, so it'll be an exam in another 20 minutes. But many of these programs, and it's amazing, the games, the fun, the singing groups, the trips, it's amazing what we do, and I would hope that I know you've all been in the center, but I would hope you would come over someday when the program would come out and you see the activity it's going on. It's really remarkably busy. Many people come for the service, but they come for lunch. Every day we have folks who show up just for lunch. And they're here to see their pals and get a good deal, a reasonable price. We even get romances started. So many of you are, looking around. I think it's important to know that we seniors are vibrant. And most important, we're not sitting on a deathbed. We're there, we're vibrant, all get out. We're there with energy. And these people are there with energy. The center is vital for the seniors. And more programs are desired, people want them. The center is used. I hope again you come and visit us. It's important that you realize that some of you will retire someday. That it's important for your brain and your body that you keep going. And the center serves that purpose significantly. But as you look at that, our staff is not loaded. And I'll leave it to Maria to talk about when you're all that stuff. But we have that loaded and we need staff. We're maxed out in our ability to provide programs. It's amazing to me how we get all the programs in. I think very much the magician to do all the things that we have here. As you know, we have requested a budget increase. Budget increase of under $85,000. And that's not personnel target. I guess all I can say, we've got a bunch of us here from the center. How many? I asked you not to bring the but we are interested in the center, and we ask if you continue to support us, and if you can, be sure to use that budget increase. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Mark Ciclario.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Mark Ciclario, the record. I live on 35 Conley Hill Road in Saunders, Wisconsin. I am here tonight to represent all the people of the town, as I know you all are. I am here to perhaps restate the obvious but it bears emphasis. My job is to exercise a fiduciary responsibility and do the best thing for the citizens of the town. It's a difficult one because you're going to hear conflicting testimony. You're going to have, applause and maybe not applause and so forth. But in the final analysis, our success is your success. We need you to do that job. Now, I say this from perfection of some experience. There was a time when I sat in your city, and 9 years ago, when I was on the council that I sat on, founded an audit committee to help accelerate this process of the annual audit. That committee, I believe, still exists today. That the last couple of audits have come in a little late is a problem that I'm sure you're dealing with. We also founded the consolidation committee between the school and the town, and in fact funded initial studies trying to make the way. And at the time, that town council presided over an undesignated fund that equaled a little over 12% of the annual budget. So I would urge you to make use of that infrastructure and experience and those tools to help exert that responsibility that you have. You obviously are going to take professional advice from people up and down the hierarchy of the town. That's what they're there for. But the ultimate decision is yours, and I charge you to make it wisely. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Jim McGuire.
My name is Jim McGuire, 467 Town Road. I don't have to go as long as Mark did. I never served on the town council in my Indian experience. What I do have is I have a number of friends that have chosen to move away from Rhode Island and want to stop that and to move into being 6 months and a day, we were in Florida, North Carolina, Texas, or wherever, and moving away from where I am. And I don't want to see my country moving because of high property taxes, high state taxes, under what we have to do. I appreciate the work that we have to do, and I understand that it's not easy to cut. It's easier to raise the taxes if you have to, because everybody wants something. But be careful, be as circumspect as you can. Thank you.
Thank you. Julie Casimiro.
Julie Casimiro, 329 Wickham Road. Thank you all for what you're doing here, and I really appreciate the fact that letting us all speak. I received a copy of the Auditor General's letter, and I believe it to be disturbing at best. This is the second year the town could not get its act together for a successful and timely financial audit. Clearly, the audit problems are ongoing. Problems appear to be running deep with town management. We have a $100 million budget, and we really don't know where the money is being spent. The Auditor General refers to town operations and related control procedures as not being in order. That's a problem. It's a very serious problem. There appears to be no checks and balances in place, but great material weakness. The entire budget process has been less than transparent. Taxpayers are unable to get clear and concise answers that make sense. Why are we finding out about the Auditor General's letter 1 week before the budget is set to be approved? The letter was dated February 25th. That being said, I believe the town deserves a new town manager. I am respectfully asking for Mr. Embry's resignation. The town council should be as well. That if Mr. Embry doesn't resign, the council needs to come up with a clear and concise exit strategy. If you aren't fixing the problem, you are part of the problem. Further, I'm asking for a full investigation of town financials. I have been paying taxes in this town 17 years, and I want to know where my money's going. Every taxpayer in this room deserves that. This is not Democrat versus Republican. This is right versus wrong. Thank you.
First of all, it's very clear what the situation was. When we're down to 2 people, and this was explained in December, it was explained in January.
A quick comment.
I understand you're shorthanded, and someplace the buck has to stop, and the buck has to stop here. Thank you.
Thank you.
I must respond to that also, briefly. 1,000 pages up in your office is not enough access to public information for the public. That has to change.
And Ms. Waxman, if you'd like to look at the budget, it's right there. If anybody has any questions, I haven't heard any questions from anyone relative to anything on the budget. Last year's audit is there for everybody to see. When you talk about public information, I can show you the statistics, as a matter of fact, how few people take advantage of all of the information that's on the website.
Thank you. Mark Marinello, please.
Mark Marinello, 31 Bromley Court. I'd like to just briefly talk about the full-day kindergarten. I don't know if it's appropriate during this session. It does seem to tie into the school committee budget and the town council budget do seem to tie together.
Mark, it would have been set up more appropriately in the next session, but that's fine. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Everybody deserves their moment.
Thank you. Yeah. I, like many of the parents behind me, are surprised that we're still debating this. It is perhaps the least controversial form of school reform being presented. But let's assume that we all agree that full-day K is an important priority. We look at the budgets, and we look at the school committee budget, and we can see the line items in the school committee budget. The town budget is not entirely transparent to those of us in the citizenry, in the those of us in the town. And then we look at the priorities presented in these budgets, and we are frankly surprised that an unirrigated ball field, which, by the way, will require many more pesticides to keep it usable, is a higher priority than something that will keep charter money in the district, will make the bus schedule much more coherent, happier kids and families, and support for what makes us strong. But let's all assume that we all agree that the long-term and the short-term benefits are worth spending money on. Then I see the town council pointing its fingers at the school committee and saying that the school committee has enough money, but the town council and that the town council has given the school committee enough money to do this. And I understand now, as a resident of the town, that there is a history here between the town council and the school committee of pointing fingers. And frankly, I'm frustrated by that. We elect the town council to solve problems and not to blame. So I think it's pretty clear there are a lot of people here that want full-day kindergarten, and we expect you to lead us there. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Kerry, Mr. President?
Yes.
Just so everyone knows, this has been, again, a piece of information that people, it's been addressed twice. If the ball fields are built, those dollars are not tax dollars. Grant dollars from the state, $200,000 from QDC, and monies from the QD Rec Fund. There are no tax dollars if those fields are built.
Thank you. Mike McGovern, please.
Michael McGovern, 242 Glen Hill Drive, Saunderstown. I moved to Saunderstown 7 years ago because it was a great community, great place to live, good tax rate, and good services, good roads. I can't really say that anymore. Tax rates are going up. The roads I've seen better in Mogadishu. And the services are not really what they used to. And I also find out that my town workers and my town administrators are working in buildings with code violations. And things are not, the infrastructure is not the way it should be.
Could you speak into the mic a little bit?
Infrastructure is not the way it should, sorry, it's tall. Infrastructure is not what it used to be. Now, I thank Mr. Embry and the Department of Public Works for a great job of snow removal, and I really appreciate that, so good job, and I hope that's the last we see of it for a long period of time. However, things need to change a little bit. We elected you to do a hard job. You have to make tough choices. So I'd ask you to take a look at it and do the right thing. Put the money not where it's wanted, but where it's needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Amy Coleman, please.
Amy Coleman, 71 John Scott Lane. I can only assume that these numbers match the preliminary budget. And I think it's more of a scheduling issue, that this isn't available until just minutes before this meeting, and I hope maybe in the future the scheduling can be a little bit different so people can...
It was advertised in the newspaper.
Okay.
And it was on the town website.
Okay. The entire... Okay, so I looked... What is on the town website is the preliminary budget as it stands now, then I looked at it today. So I guess I can assume that...
Yeah, scheduling, and I agree with you, scheduling is just too constricted on our, for what we have to do.
I was at the meeting last week, so it's hard, when you just have a weekend. I have gone through that town budget page by page, and I'm looking forward to it being more accessible in the future. What I found is that every town department that made a request for a budget increase, every request was granted without reduction except for one department, and that department was the school department. Their request was decreased by over 33%. The town is getting more than double the tax dollars from the proposed increase when it has less than half the amount of buildings and employees. When I look at it, it's just not equitable. It seems that at the budget workshop last week, there was a $400,000 that were found because assumptions changed and also because of savings in healthcare expenses. Even though the school department was the only department to have their budget increase request reduced, none of that money was moved to offset the reduction. And that just doesn't make sense when theirs was the only new program that was not funded. There wasn't even any discussion about it. Over the last 5 years, the town's increase in tax dollars has been 58%, while the town's has been 9%. The spreadsheet that's been circulated showing I think it was a 67% increase in the money that the school committee department's been getting since 1998. I believe that's shown to show that the school is being fiscally irresponsible. I can't go into the many demands on the school department budget over that time period because this is not the school budget time. However, what that document also shows is while the school department's demand on tax dollars has gone up 108%, the town's demand on those same tax dollars is up 115%. Where is the money going? There isn't an excessive amount of money going to seniors or kids in the budget. Parents don't want to be pitted against seniors. We believe seniors should be funded as well, and we're willing to come up with collaborative solutions to address the needs of seniors, such as fundraising money to put toward the senior van or different kinds of drives at the schools for necessities that seniors need when there are budget shortfalls. We want to be collaborative. We want to be a community. And obviously, things like potholes need to be addressed in the budget, but the town needs to give a fair share to the school department, which it hasn't done, and parents vote too.
Thank you. Richard Welch.
I would entertain a fundraiser. I mean, if they want to raise money and have a fundraiser for a van, I'm all for it. Just saying.
Good idea.
Richard Welch, 8 Arrow Lane. It's a pleasure to see all of our fellow residents and taxpayers here this evening. The last 2 budgets, when I served on the town council, we might have had 4 or 6 residents. And now we have all of these folks here to listen to what we all have to say about the budget going forward. I have to take contention with what was said earlier with Julie Casimiro, calling for the town manager to resign. After all, having served on the council and the school committee for a number of years, I'm familiar with what we have gained by his employment as our town manager, the professional manager for our community. First, there was the lawsuit against the school committee. That cost the taxpayers $170,000. Then we have the repair facility for the fire department that will end up costing us over $2 million when $500,000 would have done it. There's an endless money pit that's sitting over at the Whitford Elementary School, the old meeting house, that has no plan, that has no budget, and it will probably fall apart long before it is finished. The sewer fees for Phase 1 are going up, as well as the assessments. While I was on town council, we were told constantly that the fees for the commercial would be 74 cents per square foot. And the last I heard, they went up to 92 cents. I don't understand why. The sewer line has been in the ground for almost 2 years now and has 4 tie-ins. It's been an unmitigated management mess. We also have $507,000 that was lost to the Pelley tenant lease. that ran over 3.5 years. Thank you. We have 2 years where the audit now has failed to be on time and not ready in the time for the budget to be approved by the council. I voted against last year's budget because of the lack of the audit being completed, which is the report card by a professional, objective review to tell us how our town is running and where its shortcomings are. In December, I found out, going to an audit committee meeting, that we had 6 months of no reconciliations of bank statements. While I was on council, this was never brought to our attention. Now we have the auditor's letter, the Auditor General's letter that says, we're not doing the right thing. There's no surprise there. Lastly, I will say that South Kingstown, our neighbor, last year had a 2-cent increase in the tax rate, and this year the manager has proposed 10 cents. We are looking at 52 cents. Maybe we need to look south and find out how they do things differently. I started out saying that I disagreed with Julie Casimiro. I wholeheartedly support the change in the management of our town for the betterment.
Thank you.
And I can't let...
I understand, Mike, if we could have this go on all night long. Mr. Welch was fully aware of all the issues that we had. He was part of it for quite a while. I sat up here. I listened to the whole thing. I don't agree with everything Mr. Welch said. I'm not going to engage.
He knows what the facts are.
Well,
and the man has had a hit list for years.
Sorry. Jennifer Hoskins, please.
Jennifer Hoskins, 26 Sylvan Court, Saunderstown. I'm up here today to ask again about these enterprise funds. After going through the budget line by line for several hours with several people, we're really looking at what's happening in our town and where's our money going. And one of our questions has to do with the golf course and the fact that it looks like greens fees are down and that they're under by $100,000, but yet there's a line item to buy $75,000 to $100,000 worth of new golf carts. So if that's the case, can we use that money and give it to Beechwood?
Those rotate, 1/3 rotates every year, and those monies can't go to Beechwood because it's an enterprise fund.
But and I thought an enterprise fund was supposed to be self-sustaining. How is it self-sustaining if it's losing money?
It's not losing money. They may be down, but we're not to the end of the fiscal year yet.
So, okay. So then going forward, again, about the ball fields, like you say that if we need it irrigated, that the state is going to pay for it?
No, there is no irrigation for that.
Right, but Coach Al didn't know that. I know he's here. Maybe he can speak to that. And he said that if we have a really dry season in the spring, then they're going to be really crappy by the fall.
It very well could be, and there's still a question whether those are even going to be built, as I said, because we still have not received any of the confirmations that we're requiring from the state.
I will be here for every ball field meeting because the contamination out there and everything about it really bothers me. Thank you.
Thank you. Kristen Pereira. Did I pronounce that right? Pereira, excuse me.
Hi, my name is Kristen Pereira. I live at 631 10 Rod Road. I've been to a lot of the meetings lately, both town council, budget meetings, and school council meetings. It's become very apparent that the two factions see each other almost as enemies. They don't work well together. So my request to you and to them would be to figure out a way to be able to speak to each other, talk, collaborate, and come up with some solutions instead of pointing the finger at each other. I think that would help all of us. Thank you.
Great idea. Representative Doreen Costa, please.
Good evening, councilmen and women. I'm here to talk about all-day kindergarten for a minute or two, if possible. What I did is, being the representative of District 31, I always try to keep the community engaged in what's going on in North Kingstown as well as Exeter. So tonight we're going to focus on North Kingstown. I sent out 200 letters asking residents how they felt about all-day kindergarten. And I just want to share the responses that I got back with you. Now, granted, I don't have any children in North Kingstown High School. I have a 27-year-old and a 26-year-old that has almost finished a CCRI. So I don't have any stakes in here, and I have no children in the system. But I did get 57 emails, all opposed to all-day kindergarten, because they either A, didn't have any children in the system, or B, were extremely worried about their taxes being raised and they really couldn't afford it. I got 13 emails in favor of all-day kindergarten, and I received 6 phone calls in opposition, 9 in favor. I also received a phone call from 2 daycare workers that have daycare systems or own daycare facilities inside the district, and they were frightened because they said if the all-day kindergarten does go through, then their livelihood would be destroyed and they didn't know how they were going to pay their bills. And, you know, I told her that I was taking data and talking to people in the community, and those are the numbers that I have. So I probably got a little less than about 100 from about the 200 emails that did go out. I did get a few more emails this morning, but unfortunately my computer did crash, and I can't print them out for you. So I would say anywhere between 100 and 125 responses back with the whether they're in favor or favor, because like I said, I always like to keep the community involved. So those are my numbers. I'll be very happy to share the addresses and the names of the folks with you, between you and I, the town council and myself, because I think that would be appropriate and not for the public to see. But I would also like to say thank you so much for taking the time to hear both sides of the issue, because I know this is an extremely important issue for both sides, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Representative Costa.
Representative Costa, I wanted to ask, how did you determine your survey sample of 200?
Oh, it was easy. Every time there's an issue in the district, what I do is I'll take one section of town, whether it be like near Stony Lane, and I'll go in down there, or I will go the other way. So there's no rhyme or reason, but I make sure that there's an equal opportunity between Stony Lane and Forest Park, so they're all equal. So that's how I get my numbers. I try to keep it very even.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Jennifer McCann, please.
Jennifer McCann, 62 Douglas Drive. I'll be brief because Jennifer Hoskins addressed some of my earlier concerns, but thank you for your service, Representative Costa, but I take issue with your math. I'm not a mathematician, but that doesn't appear to be a random sampling, and as well 200 emails. In a town of this size, does not, to me, give conclusive evidence one way or another. Thank you.
Thank you. Julie Ostagai.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you. Julie Ostagai, 20 Sanford Avenue, North Kingstown, obviously. I just wanted to comment on, somebody had spoken about their friends leaving the state of Rhode Island to move to North Carolina and South Carolina and Florida, and I too have experienced quite a few friends who have left for a high cost of living in the state, high taxes. And what I'm hearing from them is that the services that they're receiving in those states aren't as good. The schools aren't as good. Their kids here were receiving reading services. They were receiving all kinds of special intervention. There, they're considered to be gifted. So what I'd like to say is, while our taxes are being raised, as long as they're funding things appropriately, I'm okay with that. I have no problem with raising taxes. In some sense, you get what you pay for. But when my taxes increase and I can't tell where they're going, that's a problem. I can't tell from looking at the budget where our money is going. I can't tell where that 9% is going. If you take a look at South Kingstown's budget, you can tell where every dollar is going. I think we should take a look at that. I think we need to change that. When I ask questions, I don't seem to get a direct answer. When I ask the school committee, however, about their budget, I get an answer like this. And I have very few questions about theirs because they're line item budgets. When you speak about lack of resources and not being able to complete financial records or whatever on time, which is delaying our audit, to me that's a problem. I work in corporate America. You would never be able to do that in corporate America. We have what is called risk management programs. We have contingency plans for something like this. And in my opinion, as a town council, I would ask you guys to take a look at that. What are you doing when things like this come up? Are you asking other departments for resources? Are you looking to the school committee, maybe even, the department, who has a great financial, I think that they're excellent. Mary King seems to know her way in and out. Do they have resources that you can borrow? I don't understand how you let yourself get into this situation.
The situation, if I could interrupt, the situation got that way because people got sick and people left. Mary has plenty to do. We hired...
Was there a question? Was there an ask?
We hired people who from other auditing companies to come in and assemble the data. The data for this audit has been sitting in binders for a good month and a half. The auditor said, well, I can't get there now until April.
So this is the situation that we're in now, and I understand that we're in that situation, but now we need to start thinking not only about correcting and stopping the bleeding.
We now have 2 people that are being trained so that we're now only short 1 person
So what are
instead
you
of
going to
3.
do in the future to never be in this situation again?
This is not going to be happening again, which was addressed by the finance director on numerous occasions.
In summary, I am asking the town council to ask the tough questions and demand transparency. My husband's late uncle, David Burnham, I'm sure you all know him, he holds a legacy in this town, I believe. He holds a legacy in my heart. And I'm ashamed that I haven't been paying closer attention. But I will tell you that my peers and myself will be. We're not turning our back anymore. We're going to be paying attention, and we're going to be asking the tough questions. And I hope you guys too do as well. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Christine Marinello, please.
Good evening. As a newer resident, I'm troubled by what I've seen this budget season. I spent several hours looking at the town budget, and I can't see what new programs are being funded with a nearly 10% increase in the town budget. It's not a new school program that people have vocally requested. It's not seniors, as the allocation to them is pretty modest. And I hear a lot of talk about potholes, but potholes don't cost about $2 million to fix. And there's been no discussion about accessing FEMA money, which has become accessible as of April 3rd for those road repairs. I hope that you look into that. I'm concerned about enterprise funds that are losing money and yet somehow are still in operation. Those funds are coming from somewhere. I'm concerned about building new ball fields, like others said, on contaminated site without public support, push, or really apparent need. I'm concerned about the letter from the Auditor General. 2 years really is inexcusable. I understand things happen, but you have to be able to fix those. And it has the ability not only to harm our bond rating, but taxpayer trust and confidence. I'm concerned there was no discussion at the budget workshop last Thursday about alternative budget scenarios. There was a $400,000 swing in expenditures that was realized. At that meeting, in a swift 10 minutes, that money was identified and immediately shoved out the door again without any discussion, save for that initiated by Councilman Maloney, and that was shut down pretty quickly. The town manager has actually asked your direction. I heard him ask it 3 times at that last meeting for some direction. And we elected you to look at the possibilities, pay attention to the many moving parts. We know there are a lot. We don't suggest this is an easy chore. That's why being a public servant is often called or considered a calling. There's been a lot of talk about what's good for our kids, our residents, our economy, elderly, but the common denominator is that there's an inherent need for open government, communication, and respect, the trifecta of success for a town, so to speak. I beseech you, look long and hard at the town budget and make an honest assessment. Do the numbers reflect our values as a community? A place for seniors to retire, a place that draws young families, where businesses can grow, Unfortunately, this town budget is unclear to me. I don't know where North Kingstown's values lie by looking at that, particularly as it relates to the school budget. Sunlight's the best disinfectant. This meeting is that sunlight. Now is the time to do the scrubbing, clean off the windows, invite the public in for collaboration and discussion. Make a worksheet detailing what new programs this tax increase is going to fund. Only then can we have a really intelligent discussion about what makes sense. Listen to the residents, please, as you're doing right now. Continue to do the hard work of really scrutinizing the budget. We recognize it's hard work. See if it reflects the things we can all agree are important: education, safe communities, self-determination, and a sense of community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gary? In case anybody hasn't gotten it, in the box in back, there's this document, and about halfway through, it does point out all of the increases that go into the $1.7 million.
Brent Cleveland.
Can I get a copy of that?
Can we have a
Can we
copy
get
of
a-
that, too?
can we get
They were right there when you walked in.
Sorry.
Brent Cleveland, 25 Seagrass Way. I'm getting really concerned, like so many here also. We're approaching a very key number of this $20 a thousand, which seems like it might even happen next fiscal year. This to me is really concerning because I've often spoken about what I refer to as Exodus Rhode Island, about people who are leaving that would be seeking lower tax rates and cheaper state taxes. But anyway, I've heard also consolidation being addressed often over the years, and I urge the Town Council to prioritize consolidation so that Brown Street Annex, Town Hall, and IT Building can all share one facility. This would allow for the recovery of assets, the return of property to tax rules, and the eye-to-eye management of activities with less time spent. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Renee Reese.
Renee Reese, 17 Lindley Avenue, and I just want to start by thanking the committee members who have collaborated. We really do appreciate your efforts. And let's see. One thing that hasn't been brought up are the Title I children in this town. We have Title I funding at Quidnesset Elementary School, and we have full-day kindergarten for those children. But there are Title I pockets in every school. Hamilton has them, Stony Lane has them, and those parents may not be here representing us at this moment, but they are not the ones that are able to pay for the private tutoring and the things that are needed. So again, I'm asking for you all to work together and to find a way to fund full-day K for the benefit of all the children in the school system. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kate Scott. It is Kate Scott, right?
It is.
Thank you.
Kate Scott, 23 Sand Hill Drive. My husband and I moved to North Kingstown about 11 years ago when we got married because we wanted to raise our children here. We have a 3-year-old, soon to be 4, and an almost 2-year-old. And sadly, we are considering moving because our taxes are increased every year, and we don't really see the benefit that goes to what my money is paying for. I really would like my children to go through the public school system in North Kingstown, but right now we're looking to move to South Kingstown, as many people have spoken of the positives of that town. I know it's hard to work together. I mean, it's something we have to work with our children on every day. And it is something that, as a parent, I would appreciate the town council and the school council working together. Thank you.
Thank you. Bonnie Manfredi.
Thank you, council members, for allowing me to speak tonight. I'm Bonnie Manfredi, 155 Summit View Lane, and I have a degree in early education. And I have found that while teaching school, there is absolutely no benefit to full-time kindergarten for a couple of reasons. First of all, the children don't have the attention span at that age to really absorb anything that would benefit them. And secondly, there's been
Please, you'll have your opportunity. There's going to be none of this, all right? Thank you.
And also, they have a limited curriculum of what they can study just because of their age. There was an article in the Washington Post, it was this February, and it says that most states do not have full-time kindergarten, and the states that do show no benefit from them. There's no data at all that shows that full-time kindergarten adds to an educational benefit. And I personally am very much for education. That is our future. And I have volunteered tutoring, and if people think this is really necessary, there are volunteer programs out there where they can tutor these children. And for the parents who think it's really necessary, there are also homeschooling programs that are available, that are bona fide, if they feel that they need more education. My sister is an early educational specialist, and she's now teaching other teachers how to teach better. And she specializes in kindergarten through 3rd grade. She has expressed to me that there is absolutely no benefit for these children going to school all day long at that age group. And this is substantiated by many people in her field, very learned people in her field. She is now teaching, along with this panel, other teachers how to more effectively teach. So I think she's a pretty good example of why we don't need that. My husband and I are both senior citizens. We cannot afford any more taxes. The development that we chose to build in when we moved from Virginia is a private neighborhood, and we get no city benefits at all, but our taxes are very high.
Bonnie, you're right on the money. I've given you a little extra time on this whole thing, so could you wrap it up, please?
Sure. I already told you that we're senior citizens, so I don't have to go over that. But higher taxes will drive all of our home values down, and have driven our home values down. And I think that there's a better way to do it and to allocate money rather than all-day kindergarten.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Jim McGuinn, please.
Good evening, Jim McGuinn, 412 Jimmy Rock. It was mentioned that last 2 years there were only 4 or 6 people here.
Speak into the mic.
It was mentioned that in the last 2 years there were only 4 or 6 people here. I was one of those 4 people. And every year for the past 5, 6 years, I have commented on how to save money through consolidation and other methods in the school department and not affect one child. In fact, fund programs. And if you look at town audits for those years, you will find out there have been significant surpluses in the school department budget. We're talking $1 million plus. In August, there was $1.6 million surplus in the school department budget. That was money the town funded and was not used during the 2014 year. Just understand that. That could have gone for all-day K, that could have gone for the hockey team, that could have gone for languages, that could have gone for a Cisco certificate program, so that kids who get out of the high school have a job opening. Our IT manager for the town, by the way, is the recipient of a Cisco certificate, and right out of high school had a very good job. I would like to briefly comment on the Auditor General's report. I was at the meeting in 2006, July 24th, when the Auditor General came to our fine town and said, although he didn't uncover any criminal activity, the transactions under review, the lack of written policies and procedures, weak internal controls, and lack of follow-up in audit findings could expose the town to fraudulent activity. This letter is dated, and I will submit it to the council yet again. And I think it should be put on the website. The audit committee was formed, and in fact, the town council president then, because I did work for Pete Marwick, asked me to help draft the first draft. The audit committee scopes the audit. The audit committee reviews the proposals by the audit firms that come in, and the audit committee reviews the progress of the audit. I do not know why the audit committee was not raising flags before this. I have been in the town manager's office, he will tell you, on a regular basis, asking for the audit. This is the audit from 2013. I bring it to every town council meeting with me, and it has a tremendous amount of information. Someone mentioned South Kingston. Our former town treasurer, Trish Sunderland, was named in the paper, and she was fairly upset, I think, by it, is the town treasurer in South Kingston. She used to be the town treasurer in North Kingston. She was until she had been harassed by a school committee member leaving a town financial meeting. She was harassed. It's a matter of record. The second in number 2 person in the school department and from finance department got a raise equal to hers on a consent agenda. And then she was told she didn't know what she was doing. Yet the audits, when she was here, won awards for 10 years in a row. And council members who are here know that. And they were on time. There is a problem with transparency. There is a problem. If anyone tries to read the school department budget on the website, you will have to turn your computer screen sideways to see some of the pages. For the first time in maybe 100 years, it wasn't provided. I asked the town council to provide it. I was given a hard copy. I have asked under access to public records for the electronic copies, and will provide to the town council comparisons 2013, 14, 15, and the 16 proposed budgets.
Mr. McGuinn, Mr. McGuinn, if you need to.
I'm wrapping up.
Please.
Okay. I'm also going to provide to the town council 2 articles from the Jamestown Press showing how their school committee and town council work together. Last year, the school committee used their surplus, so there would not be a tax increase. This year, they cut their budget, and there's a very small one. Their tax rate is $8.50 per thousand. It was half of what ours is. Now it's getting smaller. We need to start looking at consolidation of not only departments that are redundant in this town, that are wasting money, but assets. We have too many physical assets. We can't afford to keep them. And we just opened in the schools 39,000 square feet without referendum, without anything. We need to start following our charter with the asset management, and I believe it's time that we have a finance committee to review the finances on a monthly basis.
Thank you. Patricia McGee, please.
Patricia McGee, 16 Glendale Circle. I just had the discussion with my in-laws who retired to Maine about 15 years ago. They're looking to move back to the southern Rhode Island, and they're originally from North Kingstown. And one of the main things that we discussed was where the senior service is the best. So North Kingstown, obviously, the senior services are good. You know, I wholeheartedly support the seniors in this town and no cuts to their services. I was on Post Road the other day. I had to change a flat tire due to a pothole. So yes, our infrastructure needs to be repaired. I have a first grader at Hamilton who is in a classroom with 26 children, 26 first graders, one teacher. That's mayhem. And I have another child who is gearing up to go to full day K, hopefully next year. He deserves the same as any other child in Rhode Island. We're one of the last communities to have full day K. I wholeheartedly hope you guys work together to try to find the money with the school committee. I wholeheartedly disagree with Bonnie. I'm sorry, your research is antiquated. Common Core has changed everything. They are doing reading, writing, history, science. 2.5 hours is not enough time. Thank you.
Thank you. Melissa Toller, please.
Hi, Melissa Toller, 84 Lindley Ave. The reason I'm here is I'm in support of allocating more funds to the schools. The school system in North Kingstown is the one thing we're doing right. There's so many problems, and let's not underfund it. Let's keep it going. It's the one thing that keeps people here, and you know, new families want to move here because of our school system. So let's fund our school system, and also I'd like to say I'm in support of full day kindergarten.
Thank you. Matt Leonard.
Matt Leonard, 71 Wampanoag Circle. I'm also a member of the Audit Committee, and we did come in front of this committee last April 28th, myself and the chairman of the Audit Committee, and pleaded with this town council to put a plan in place. And we mentioned back there, I know what the town manager was saying, but there was material weaknesses. So there wasn't a clean bill of health from the audit. And it's been that way for 3 years in a row. And we voiced our concerns. The chairman of that committee, who's a registered Republican, so it's not Republican versus Democrat, wrote the letters from the audit committee to the town council. He asked us for a plan. We explained to you we couldn't give you a plan. We're just an advisory board. We don't have the resources or understanding of how the town operates and how the finance department operates and whether or not they would have enough resources internally and externally. And we asked you to come up with a plan and have the finance department do that. And we were told that was going to happen because we couldn't close our books by the town charter last year, and we had to ask for an extension. Nothing was done, and again this year we have to ask for another extension. The good news is the Auditor General is asking for a plan now. So we're going to get the plan, I guess, and we'll probably get that resolved. But it wasn't done by the town council. It was explained to you. And there was past problems. He mentioned 2006. In the last few audits, there hasn't been issues with the school department other than communication between the town and the school department. And we hadn't even closed and reconciled bank statements for 7 months. I'm happy to say in the last audit committee meeting, we're up to speed. He's all caught up. That's a good thing. So it's a matter of keeping things going, but I want to address that first, because that was brought up and was brought up to you, several members of the council. Now I want to talk about where to find money. It's hard to look at this budget and see anything. I looked at the school department budget online, I had no problem with that. Yeah, you had to print out because some of the pages are sideways. The school, I mean, the town council budget that's on there right now, your very first page, you have Jason Albuquerque listed as IT director. Go on and take a look at it. That's an embarrassment. The pages are just a scanned document into a PDF. You can't make heads or tails out of it. And I'll challenge anybody to pick any other town in the state of Rhode Island and match it up to that piece of garbage. Or take a map of the United States and put your finger on any town and city and match that up against what you have on the website. It's atrocious. It's an embarrassment. So nobody wants their taxes raised. I get that. But we can't find out, we can't even have a discussion of where the money is. Is 8.5% too high? Who knows? The school department is clear where the money's going. The town is ambiguous, and we need some transparency. Thank you.
Dave Vanderpyle.
Good evening, councilors. Just for introduction, I've been in town as a property taxpayer for about
David, could you talk
the
into
last 42 years. And a couple of things that I'd like you folks to talk about amongst yourselves. And maybe Carol, you might remember this, but we had the Patterson rule in effect for a number of years while John Patterson was on the town council, and that rule served us well. Without going into the details, I'll ask you to go look it up and see what the good results were. We got away from it for some reason. I know it's probably not a popular thing to bring up, but another thing that served us well in the past was a differential in the tax rate for commercial and industrial property. It was done away with for no good reason at all. In fact, there's several businesses in town that received a tremendous windfall because of that, letting that rule go away. And I know we're not supposed to be talking about the schools, so I'll just say briefly. We know that in the total budget, 80% of the total budget is the school department, and roughly 80% of that is teacher salaries. And I have, and you have, we have no impact, no control over that, but we get the bill. As a result of that, I think we have tax increases that flow back to the senior citizens, and you've probably noticed, as I have, all of the for sale signs that are around, and all the senior citizens that are saying, now's the time to start thinking and talking about moving south. And we have to do something to make sure that we reverse that trend. So I would say that although the senior citizens now get some relief on the senior exemption, there's a flat exemption and then a low-income exemption. In fact, actually, you need to look into this. The tax form that you fill out says you get either or, but the municipal code says that you get both. So that does need to be checked. What I would suggest is that we take the same percentage of negotiated salary increases for the educators and apply that as additional benefit for the senior citizen property tax relief. And year by year by year, if the teachers get 2%, then you add a 2% benefit to the seniors for their property tax relief. If they get 4%, same thing, ad valorem, dollar for dollar, or percentage for percentage, I should say. And I'm hoping that you do give all of these suggested points serious consideration, and I hope you do agree it's important that we keep the seniors here in town. They have no kids, there's no drain on the system on the most expensive part of our government, and we need to keep them here, keep them happy. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard Lemieux.
Richard Lemieux, 37 Buena Vista Drive. I've been a long time North Kingston resident and taxpayer. I would like to support the town council's efforts to maintain the current level of funding. I think that in lieu of the discrepancies in the budget, that no additional programs be instituted, whether it be in the town side or the school side, until the budget process can be identified and clarified. Thank you.
Thank you. Pat D'Alfonso, please.
Good evening, Pat D'Alfonso, 289 Wickford Point Road. First, I'd like to thank the council members who I spoke to, and Mr. McKay, I'm sorry that we never were able to get in contact, but I've never really been involved with local politics. I've never had to. I don't have any skin in this game at this point. I pay my taxes. I love living here. I've lived here since 1980. My children are in their 30s, so all-day K was not even on my mind until I heard that there was not an all-day kindergarten in this district, in this town, and I was shocked. I teach in West Warwick, which is a very poor community. We've had all-day kindergarten for five or 6 years now. We need it. Those students need it. Some of the previous speakers have already spoken about Title I students in all of the schools that whose parents may not be here to represent them. But this is something that it's really dear to me, and not because I have kids, but because I really know the Common Core. And you've all received the letter that I sent you, all 5 of you. I've been involved with the Common Core standards since 2008. Before they were adopted in 2010 by the state of Rhode Island. In 2008, they were in draft form. I worked with the standards developers. I was one of the teachers that was selected to give feedback to those standards. And so I know them inside and out. I am a coach. I work with teachers from kindergarten through grade 12. I'm in kindergarten classes. In fact, I taught 2 kindergarten classes today. And I know what the standards are requiring. It cannot be done in 2.5 days. I really respect the fact that these two, the town council and the school committee, have tough budgets. One of the things in West Warwick that we've dealt with for the past 4 or 5 years is we've been teetering on the verge of bankruptcy. We've had Rosemary Boothko locally from the state of Rhode Island in our town living with us saying, are you going to be the next Central Falls and the next East Providence? We've had to deal with that. And what I really found to be troubling was that in West Warwick, the town council and the school committee didn't communicate. They didn't work together. And I was shocked when I met with Carol and Kevin, I'm sorry, to hear that that's happening here. I never would have guessed that there's that disconnect. You've got to put your hands together and work together and solve this. We are a community that can do this, and I just implore you to roll up your sleeves, work together, and figure out a way to make this budget work for everybody. And I'm not discounting senior citizens. I'm getting there. I'm getting close to there. I want to have those services there for me, too. But please, just work together and figure this out. Thank you.
Thank you, Pat. Hold on one second. Virginia Sanders. Miss Sanders. Ms. Sanders, is that you? Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name is Virginia Sanders. I live at 190 Waldron Avenue, where this has been my 46th winter there. I would like to address an issue on the town side and the school committee side. Which one should I address at this point, please?
Town side.
Town side.
I'm going to cut you a little latitude. If you want to deal with the other one as well, please.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you. Thank you. On the town side, I noticed the Reynolds Farm development. I went to the open house for residents yesterday. I am a member of the Rhode Island Farm Bureau, which is dead set against what is now a state economic development policy that is linking up with HUD at the federal government level. My first concern is how will all this new construction impact our town's water supply?
That's not something, that's something that you're going to have to take down with the water department.
Okay.
And you would call Sue Liccardi, and she would walk you through the steps.
Okay.
Okay?
The
That's
next-
already been pre-planned by planning, platting review, zoning, everything. So there's already been discussion.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
I'll address the school side. I was a substitute in North Kingstown schools for 10 years. I am a mother of 5 who went through North Kingstown schools. In high school, they earned honor roll. They earned college scholarships, those who went to college. My youngest daughter was the North Kingstown Orion winner for 1999, which is excellence in academics, music, and community service. She's now on her way to Israel with her family. And yes, I'm concerned about them going there. Her husband's working on his doctorate. On the school side, and I must confess, I have not seen a light item for substitute teachers. Are substitute teachers part of a union? No.
I don't think so, but
No.
that would be an issue that we would take up with the school, the superintendent and the...
As I proposed in August to the town council, look at how substitute teachers are paid. The current rate, as I recall, is $70 a day. If a substitute teacher is hired as a long-term sub, their pay is increased to $100 a day, and it is retroactive to the time they first started substituting for a given teacher. So let's say for 2 weeks they were earning $70 a day from one teacher, who then had to be absent from school long-term, and the same substitute came on board as a long-term sub. Well, I don't have a problem if on her first day of long-term, his or her long-term day of subbing, they earn $100. But to go back 2 weeks retroactive, it would be responsible to say, okay, you worked 2 weeks at a sub position, it's now long-term, so from day one of long-term you get paid $100, but it's not retroactive. You could save money there. Perhaps you could fund paper towels in restrooms at the high school with that money. I did substitute work from kindergarten through 12th grade. I was a paraprofessional one summer. I have personal insight into what substitute teachers, what special ed teachers, and what hired, I think they're paraprofessionals.
Ms. Sanders, I'm going to, I've given you another minute past what we would
Okay.
normally do, so I would ask you to just wrap it up if you don't mind, please.
Look into, I'll save it for another time. Thank you.
And I would think at some point, this is a discussion, you've dropped something on the ground, this is a discussion you might want to take up with the school committee at some point.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it. I don't want to stop anybody else from coming up. The sign-up sheet is empty right now. Does anybody have a word that they want to add in? Just name and address, please.
This is on the town.
My name is Gary Whitney, 129 High Bank Ave. I just want to say I've been a taxpayer in this town for 30-something years. I've seen my taxes go up and up and up. I've seen the budgets, especially the school budget, go up and up and up. And now we have declining enrollment. And I'm just going to say I'm getting tired of it. And for one thing, I realize there's a lot of parents out there with small kids who would just love to pick my pocket to help them pay for their daycare. And I'm not going to go along with it, okay? I'm tired of it. Please, in the interest of fairness, don't make me pay for someone else's daycare. Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't let them, look, everyone was quiet for them. I can't.
Yeah. Would there be anybody else? Please, come on up. Is that you, John?
That's his name.
Okay.
Yeah. Gary Whitney.
Town council members, thanks for letting me come up here with such a late notice. John Buss Garden, 96 Daniel Drive. I just want to talk a little bit about assets, town assets. Things like, Wilson Park, the town beach, Beechwood, the various brick and mortar facilities that are the town's responsibility, transfer station, I already say that. But, there's one, of all the assets I've named, and I probably forgot a lot more, there's really only one thing that brings people, when they're moving to Rhode Island, to consider North Kingstown, and that's the schools. They don't come here for the golf course. They don't come here because we have 75 new golf carts every year, which is ridiculous, in my opinion. While the town beach is a nice facility, people don't move here because of that, because we all know there's lots of water around. I just would like to ask the town council to treat the school system as the jewel that it is. Believe me, I wasn't always on this side of the fence. I don't have children in school anymore. I have no dog in this fight, except that I urge us to adopt full-day K, because if we don't, we will not be competitive with the 44 other school districts in the state that currently have it. I'm selfish. I'm worried about my property value, because in 9 years, I'm gone. I can't afford to live here anymore. When I retire, I'm leaving. As much as I like it here, there's other things that are more important. So please, consider the competitive nature of the state and what not having full-day K will do to the property values, let alone the kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to address us, please?
Hi, I'm Christine Charpentier, 11 Elm Drive.
I'm sorry?
Just speak into the mic. Christine Charpentier, 11 Elm Drive.
Christine?
Correct. I have two children in second grade in the NK school system, and they, I feel very strongly, that have been put at a disadvantage by being in half-day kindergarten. I think that I'm very much in favor of the town council providing additional funding to the school department in order to fund full-day kindergarten for the 2015-2016 school year. I really believe that the town council cannot continue its 5-year trend of divesting in the school system and expect North Kingstown to continue to be a high-performing district. You need to listen to the voters who have spoken on this issue. We're not asking you to raise taxes to pay for full-day kindergarten. We're just asking you to give the schools a fair share of the proposed tax increase. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Bonnie, just a second. You've already been on the list once, so please. I can't go through this and have everybody else step up because...
Oh, I didn't know you had other
Well,
people.
no, not other people, but if I let you come back and rebut, then I've got everybody else to rebut, which is going to be a very lengthy process. So you do have one comment that you'd like to make?
Well, the comment that I'd like to make is the fact that my husband and I have raised 3 children very successfully and who have gone on to college, some Ivy League schools. My husband and I, without all-day kindergarten, have gone on to college and graduated and had very successful careers. And the woman that, I'm sorry, I can't remember your name, but she said that my data was antiquated and she didn't qualify that. So I don't know what she means by antiquated.
That's not something that we're going to get into in this particular meeting tonight. No finger pointing. If we go there, it's just going to be a contentious battle, and I'm not going to allow that. So, thank you. You'll have to take that up with her at some point down the road. Okay? Thank you. Please come on up, sir.
Kerry, municipal only.
What time is it?
7:30.
7:30. Last gentleman right here on the municipal side, please.
Keith Lazarski, 673 Tower Hill Road. I've been a lifelong resident. I went to school here. I grew up here, graduated in Rhode Island College. I teach in Rhode Island. I plan on staying here for the rest of my life. I find it really funny. I'm a teacher in Woonsocket, a district that had half-day K, made the decision to go to full day, and it's benefited them greatly. I see students that were stressed out last year. They're in first grade. They had a hard first several months of the year. They're doing better, but this year, watching the kindergarten teachers full-day K, it's phenomenally different than the last few years I've seen kindergarten. I don't use the senior center,
Keith,
but I know it belongs there.
Keith,
it's a service.
Address
Talk to
us. Let's not get into this.
There's a lot of roads I don't use, but I know that they need to be covered, fixed. Senior services that are tremendous, I don't use them, but I know they're necessary. You're not going to pay for my daycare. All right, I'm fully prepared if this town doesn't have full daycare to pay for my own daycare, but that's not the case. When I grew up, I had FDK, but I also had a parent that could stay home the other hours that I needed to further my education. My family was basically a one-income family. That is not the case anymore. Common Core wasn't there back then. It is here now. It is a lot different. The stress that's putting on the students is ridiculous. But, unfortunately, it's a necessary evil. Those kids need to be prepared early. Kindergarten does that. Full day kindergarten does that, not half day. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. All right. At this particular point, we're going to switch over to the school committee. We're going to need a few minutes, so we're going to recess for about, what do you need, about 5-10 minutes? 10 minutes, please. Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Back again. This part of the meeting is going to go to the school side of our budget, and off the bat, I would like to have Dr. Auger say a couple of words to that end.
Thank you, Mr. McKay. And after I am finished, I would appreciate it if Mrs. King could also clarify a few issues that we find are still out there in the community. Members of the North Kingstown Town Council and School Committee and concerned citizens, thank you for attending this public hearing. I truly appreciate that all of those here tonight, regardless of your opinion, are taking the time to become engaged in this very democratic process of setting a vision for our school department and town and prioritizing how we allocate and spend public funds. These are not questions to be taken lightly. I'm glad that all of those who wish to express their opinion have the opportunity to do so tonight, and that all opinions are stated and received in a spirit of respect for one another. That definitely means a lot. In approaching the preliminary vote of the Town Council regarding the 2016 school department budget, it is clear the number approved, and it's a preliminary number, mind you, is approximately $525,000 less than the North Kingstown School Committee had requested. So far, the preliminary vote is for an increase of $1 million, or approximately 2.2% over our current budget. As Director of Administration Mary King and I have explained in great detail to our elected officials on several occasions now, an increase of this amount is needed to continue with its current programming. And that includes about $400,000 in staffing cuts we've already done that have been approved by the school committee. The remaining $525,000, representing another 1% in increased funds to our budget, is needed to improve the programming to include full-day kindergarten experience for all our students. Our administration and school committee have gone into great detail and even hosted another well-attended public hearing with the Town Council to explain the merits of taking this important step, which will undoubtedly and significantly improve our children's education. It is clear that Governor Raimondo wants this to be mandatory, that the Rhode Island Department of Education and the Rhode Island State Legislature value full-day kindergarten so much that they are providing incentives to move the few remaining districts to include it, that 30 of the 36 Rhode Island public school departments and North Kingstown's local charter schools, mind you, value this so much that they have already adopted it, and that the North Kingstown School Committee, its superintendent, administration, teachers, and our parents all see the value in making this move, and many are here tonight to advocate on its behalf. If the debate tonight were only about what is good for our kids and for our community, this funding would already have been approved. Instead, the debate tonight, as it always is in budget season, is about how much do we increase local property taxes and how do we prioritize our spending. The Town Council in its preliminary vote has for the most part supported Mr. Embry's proposal for town and school funding. The result as it stands now is that the increase in funds allocated to town programs totals roughly $1.5 million, or over 8% of the current town budget, and that the school department would receive $1 million. Again, that's about 2.2% of the school department budget. Mr. Embry has explained that this dramatic increase to town funding is needed to address significant concerns that have not been addressed for years. The majority of our Town Council membership understands and respects these needs and is prepared to provide the requested funds, even to the point of increasing taxes by approximately 3.14% overall. However, when a clear and obvious need is presented by the North Kingstown School Committee for long-needed improvements to its services to our children, there seems to be no such respect and understanding. Instead, the criticism this year seems to follow the lead of Mr. Embry, who in our local papers this past week justifies underfunding the school department with the argument that since 1999, enrollment is down by 16%, but the local taxpayer-to-pupil expenses involved in educating our students have increased by almost double in the same period. I am truly discouraged by this approach, since Mr. Embry knows that enrollment is only one of several drivers of school and municipal budgets, and many of these drivers are clearly out of local control. In fact, there isn't a city or town in America that over the past 16 years hasn't seen a dramatic increase in health care costs, pension requirements, and standard inflationary increases. As a frame of reference, the U.S. retail price of a gallon of gas in 1999 was $1.14. Of course, Mr. Embry doesn't mention in his remarks that the cost of town functions have increased by even more than the schools over the same period. Since 2000, the school department budget is up 83%. The town's budget is up 96%. Along with this criticism is the annual critique of the school funding that is somehow out of control. The reality is that our latest audited figures show that North Kingstown School Department per pupil expenditure is well below our state average and is the 14th lowest out of 36 public school departments. And by the way, a number of people have mentioned that we should compare ourselves to South Kingstown. I encourage that. South Kingstown also has a $60 million budget, give or take $1 million or so. They have 800 fewer kids in their school department than we do. Their per pupil expenditure is significantly higher. We could use some of the things that they have, including full-day kindergarten. In just the past few years, I encourage anyone to research comparative data for North Kingstown School Department to other Rhode Island school departments, and you will find that North Kingstown School Department compares favorably on all major budget factors. In just the past few years, we have made controversial decisions regarding outsourcing of custodial work, and along with our teachers, have recreated our medical benefits package to achieve significant savings. Our budget has been scrutinized in great detail throughout this budget process and every budget process. I stand by our budgeting decisions and by this budget proposal, and I know that the school department has presented it responsibly and with the utmost transparency, and I thank a lot of you for mentioning that tonight. Some more recent statistics are more relevant to the conversation at hand tonight. So far, the Town Council has made the preliminary decision to increase our taxes by about 3.14 overall, but that translates to 2.2% increase in school funds and an over 8% increase for town funds. This disparity is glaring. In fact, since 2010, and including this preliminary vote, town funds will increase by almost 53%, while during the same time, the school department will have increased by just over 9%. 53% to 9%. These numbers have been verified with Mr. Embry himself. Please, I encourage you to look it up. I hope that tonight, before this hearing is over, that someone can explain how 53 to 9 is fair and how it justifies more of the same this year. I hope that someone can explain why, given this major inequity, that year after year, the school department is portrayed as an irresponsible teenager with mom and dad's credit card, while the town holds itself up as the mature and frugal adult. Why is it that the NKGOP has followed Mr. Embry's lead in choosing to vilify the school department in the name of keeping taxes low, when it is clear that most of the increased funds are going to town services? The Town Council's preliminary approval increases taxes, but the great majority of this year's increase, about 60% of it, is going to the town, not to the schools. The year after year false accusations, misleading claims, and conspiracy theories are getting old. It is irresponsible and it is insulting to those of us who have sat through multiple public budget workshops and have respectfully answered every question in an honest and open way. Over the past 6 years, even with our relatively modest increases, the North Kingstown School Department has proven to be a strong and improving community. It is regularly one of Rhode Island's highest academically performing districts and has been commended by the Rhode Island Department of Education as one of just 6 Rhode Island school departments to show significant improvements in all tested academic areas for all of the past 6 years. Our schools have been recognized with leading, commended, and even blue ribbon status by RIDE and the U.S. Department of Education. Our preschool programming has received the highest Bright Stars ratings. North Kingstown School Department receives ongoing recognition for its athletics, music, drama, and arts programs, all of which have high rates of student participation and regularly receive local, state, and even national recognition. In fact, this past year, North Kingstown School Department has received special commendation from the President's Council on Fitness, Sports, and Nutrition. Our high school has received commendations from U.S. News & World Report, the College Board, and starting in 2015-16 school year, North Kingstown High School will include a RIDE-recognized career and technical program in robotics and engineering. We should all be proud of the school department for the tremendous asset that it is to our community. We should understand that it is the primary reason young families want to move to NK in the first place. So we are here tonight to exercise our civic responsibility to make sure that we are doing the right things with our tax money and doing what's right for our kids and our community. I'm convinced that anyone who responsibly, respectfully, and openly looks into this request cannot help but see that adding full-day kindergarten is the right thing to do for our children and a much-needed next step to improve North Kingstown for the better. I thank you for your consideration. Now, I would ask Mrs. King to address she has a few notes of her own, to address some of the things that, we have seen out there in the community as of late and to clear up any misconceptions.
Thank you. I appreciate everyone being here tonight as well. If any of you know me at all, and I know there are a few of you out there, you know that it's not my style and it's not my comfort zone to respond to editorials and offhanded comments and YouTube videos, but I've been asked to break my comfort zone and my style tonight because there's a lot of information out there that is personal attack upon myself and upon my staff, and it needs to stop. Inaccurate information that's been posted out there is in intention to deflect from what the real issue is. What I've heard out there is nothing about full-day kindergarten, really. What I've heard about is if we don't get the answer that we don't like, you're a fraud, there's a cover-up, and oh, you're not transparent. Quite frankly, if I were any more transparent in this district, I would be a window. All of our information is posted. Financial reports are posted on a monthly basis. The school committee gets them. The school committee reviews them. This gentleman right here always has a question for me, several questions for me regarding financial data. The responses out there and the information that we do not provide financial reports are false and intended to mislead you, to take you off topic. The topic tonight should be about full-day kindergarten for our students. We've talked about everything but with this group of people. I'd like to share with you some more financial statistics that we have come across over the last 5 years for the school department. Pension costs are up 25% over the last 5 years, and they're slated to go up a lot more in FY17. I know a lot of you have seen the papers, you've seen the impending settlement. There are going to be more increases there. Charter school costs are up 63% over the last 5 years. That is phenomenal. That is by far our largest increase, more than double our largest increase in any line item. Our salary line item is only up 6.2% in the last 5 years. That doesn't mean that people got 6.2% raises. Over 5 years, that equals less than 1.25% per year that our salary line item is up. That's based on very low salary increases for employees and staffing cuts, lots of staffing cuts that have been made over several years. One thing that I will boast about, and I've boasted about at several school committee meetings, our health care expense line item, down 18% over the last 5 years. I'm betting that you cannot find another district or very, very few districts that can boast a decreased health care line item. That is phenomenal, and that is due to all of our employees. That's due to all of our union employees and our other employees understanding that health care costs are a phenomenal burden upon businesses, and they've taken big hits to their own budgets because they understand what health care costs. 18% again, I'll say that going down. That is phenomenal. Our dental costs, not as much as health care in total, but down 56%. Our electricity line item over the last 5 years is down 11%. So there's a lot of discussion out there about all of the wasteful spending at the school department, all of the excess at the school department. Those are several numbers right there that can help you make that decision on your own. Is our enrollment down? Yes, our enrollment is down. Since 2010, our enrollment is down 8%. We actually saw a small uptick in the current year that we're in. There are a lot of reasons why enrollment is down. It's certainly not because it's a bad school system, as I think we've seen here tonight. We've made consistent cuts in staffing over the last 5 years. Another misconception out there, or another misinformation, the North Kingstown School Department has decreased in its percentage of tax dollars over the last 5 years. We used to be at 70%. we're now at 64% of the total tax dollars. And the reason for that is because the school committee and administration have made hard decisions. They've made consistent, sustainable cuts so that programs can continue to be funded. Those of you who run your own businesses out there, I think you understand that continual cuts to a business are going to lead to eventual failure. We need to look at our top line, and that doesn't just mean taxes. That means economic development. That means bringing other businesses into town. There are a lot of factors that go into reasons why people don't come to a town or why people move out of a town. I believe that the town faces just as many financial issues as we do. What we're asking, Dr. Auger and I have asked, and Dr. Humbert have asked, is the same thing that many of you have asked for tonight. We want to work together. All I hear from the town is when the town has issues, they have issues and they need to deal with them. The school department has similar issues, and we need to go figure them out. Go make some cuts and go figure them out. That's not respectful, it's not professional. And a lot of the data that's been thrown around and a lot of the personal attacks that have been thrown around on my integrity and the integrity of my staff, unprofessional and uncalled for. They're slanderous and they're libelous. And that kind of thing needs to stop. That is not a working together kind of community in any respect. So I'm going to leave you with just one other quote. I don't know if any of you, and I'm sure some of you did, I did watch Governor Gina Raimondo's budget address that she had back in January, and I'm going to give you her quote, word for word, on full-day kindergarten. Her quote was, "Teachers want it, parents want it, kids deserve it, let's get it done."
Thank you. Lively. Anybody else in the school committee, would you care to have an opinion about anything? Gumber, Sheila?
Dr. Humbert, did you have anything to add first? Okay. All right, going down. Mr. Jones on the end there.
Oh, Mr. Jones, I didn't see you there.
Yeah, sneaking in here.
With this busted up iPad.
Yeah, so, well, we don't get iPads in the school committee, so,
Keep up the good work here. I'm sure we're all going to have name calling here before long. I need to stop this as well as everybody.
I just want to say, first of all, I think last year I made the comment that there was 5 people in the audience. So I think it's great that there are, 100. We haven't got the fire marshal here yet, but I think it's great that people come out. Whatever your position or feeling is, I think it's great that you take the time to come out and advocate for whatever positions that you want to support. So I heartily commend everyone who's taken time out of their busy schedule to come here and let your elected officials and those who run the town on their behalf and your behalf how you feel. So thank you very much for that. The other thing I want to say is that there's a lot of short-term discussion going on here. That's all great. I hope that longer-term issues, the real core issues that get to if we really want to sustain excellence on both the school and municipal side, if we want to have a balance where we can attract families and those who want to live here can continue to do so. There are some hard choices we need to make going forward. We really need to relook at how we're structured. We really need to look at, especially on the school department side, how and where we educate our students. And that's going to call for some good thinking, good planning, and good collaboration between both the bodies here and with our citizens in making that a reality. But the hard choice is that we do need some forms of consolidation. We need to relook at things. There's a lot of good things we can do that can come out of that. We made some investments as a town 50 and 60 years ago, and those have, checks have come due a long time ago. And we can't keep writing hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars of expenses in buildings that have outlived their usefulness. I think everyone who runs a business, owns property, looks at their own reality knows that. So I'm hoping the same spirit that brings people here to advocate for stuff unites us in thinking about the long-term vision of this town and moving us in that direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Avanzado? Oh, Sheila, I'm sorry. No, I asked you before. Mrs. Avanzado.
Yeah, I'll try to be brief. I've made these comments, several times at school committee meetings. I guess, having been on the committee 7 years and going through this type of furor for last 5 years, I think it's incumbent on elected officials to come forward with factual information. I don't view this as a matter of I'm trying to personally attack someone. I'm trying to keep it factual. I'm trying to keep to the numbers, as Mrs. King just said. I'm very disappointed because it's year after year, as she explained, where the town is increasing taxes. So your taxes are going up anyway. I don't really understand the disconnect where people don't understand that the town is taking quite a few of the local tax dollars that are increasing, much more so than the schools are. And I think that's something, hopefully, that most people that are here have now understood from Mrs. King's discussion. We're all one town. We obviously all have similar goals here. We do need to work together, but it's a matter of funding. We need the necessary funding. I feel like when you do a good job, when you put all your numbers out there and you try to be as transparent, as accurate as you can be, and the answer is just no, you lose the incentive where's the incentive to do a good job? The other part of that is every dime we're saving you, the town is spending. The town is spending. I mean, we're giving our employees almost no raises for 6 years. And they're giving much higher raises. Now, that doesn't feel right to me. I'm sorry, there's an inequity there. That is not the way a town should be run. And we need to say that openly, because those are the facts, and it needs to be understood. Very discouraging when you hear that the town realized a windfall of $400,000, and I don't think that was included in Dr. Auger's number of the increase in the town of 1.5. I think that brings it to 1.9. Or I'm not 100% sure because it's very murky. No one really knows what's going on. Unclear what is going on, and that's a problem right there. But they realized the windfall, which would fund us pretty much for full day K, almost entirely, and then it's put back into the general fund on the town side, with the discussion being that we need it to be 12 million or 10 million in order to get the proper bond rating. Not the case. There are multiple moving parts that go into making up a bond rating. And it's not just you have to have X amount of dollars in there. I think this Auditor General letter is a bigger blow to your bond rating than any amount of money you could put aside that you need to have. I guess I would like to ask, the way several other people have at the table, is for this town to really step back and take a serious look at our priorities and take a serious look at what's going on with the town budget. Because it's been a pattern now for 5 years, and if we don't do something about it, we're going to have an impact on these schools, and these schools will slide eventually. You can't keep doing that. Not putting in full day K when every other community but 6 has it, it's not. North Kingstown is worth better. They deserve better. Try to hurry up, but just a few things that that people have mentioned is the golf cart, 100K deficit in the golf course, the Pelly situation, buying a fireboat, all of these things. I mean, huge dollars going into some of these things. A new IT building, supposed savings from the firefighters contract, but we can't find $500,000 for full day K. I'm not saying raise taxes more. I'm saying cut your budget, town. You need to cut your budget. They never do. They've never done it. In any case, I'm not going to get exercise here. So taxes have increased every year. And huge concern to me that we're voting on budgets without audited numbers. That's a problem. And the Auditor General said it in the letter. He said, how are elected officials going to make appropriate decisions when they don't have an audit done so they can actually, I just don't trust a lot of the numbers. Not saying I don't trust, but we just don't know what they are. We really don't know what the surpluses are. We don't know what the funds are. It's completely unknown to us. Lastly, I would just say that education is probably the #1 important thing to this town. And a town that doesn't have a great education system is a second-rate town. I do appreciate the challenges that the town council has in front of them. I realize that, they have several new members. I know again, they're facing challenges just as we are, but I really think they need to take a step back with what's going on here, with the Auditor General letter, with the unclear situation, with the constant tax raises on the town side, and address the full day K issue, and also clean up that side of the house. There needs to be some work done on that. Thank you.
Very briefly, I want to mention our chairperson, Cheryl Clarkin, suffered a pretty serious injury a number of weeks ago and has been recuperating. She tried to get here and was in a wheelchair in the hallway for a while, but wasn't able to make it up to the podium and stay. And she gave me some comments she'd like to make. And I'm going to apologize. I'm going to read them fast, and I can talk fast anyway. But it's not my time to hear myself talk. It's our time to hear you talk, so I want to finish this up. I'm speaking with her voice here, so when I say I, she means her. So it says, with the proposed tax increase, the town plans to keep $2.1 million without providing any clear information as to where exactly this money's going. They've also not provided any information as to whether these monies will be used to fund programs or services that residents have been vocal about wanting. By contrast, the school department has been extremely transparent in showing where our 3.3% funding increase request will be going. This includes $525,000 for full-day kindergarten, which, as we can all see here tonight, parents and taxpayers have been very vocal about including in our school district. I'm disappointed that the town has not made cuts to any departments other than the school, and that the cut to the proposed budget equals the cost of implementing full-day K. I think it's important to point out that the school committee strives to be fiscally conservative. In fact, we cut over $200,000 from the superintendent's preliminary budget before it even went to the town. The school department's not asking for an unreasonable increase in funding. We're simply asking for 3.3%. And of the 3.3% request, 2% covers salaries and benefits, and 1% covers the cost of implementing full-day K. That leaves us with only 0.3% to cover modest cost increases related to operations. I'm tired of hearing the cuts should always come from the school side and not the town side. Out of fairness, they need to come from both, and the school committee has taken steps to make cuts from our side. It's the fact that historically the town's share of our tax increases have gone up while the school's share have gone down. Since 2009, we've heard this number. The school department's received an increase of 9%, where the town has received an increase of 54%. Those cumulative increases seem out of line to me, since the school department has more employees in the town, more buildings to maintain in the town, and we must all comply with the federal mandates to educate our children. I understand that those opposed to any increases in the school budget complain our enrollment has increased, yet the tax support continues to increase. She mentioned some of the reasons why, which Dr. Ajay had already gone over. And the school department cannot fund full-day kindergarten without the requested increase of $525,000 from the town. I hope the town council members will listen to their constituents and do the right thing by funding the school committee's 3.3% increase request that will not only cover full-day K, but allow us to continue running a very successful school department. So those are Mrs. Clarkin's comments. Very quickly for me. I want to speak quickly to cooperation, and I want to give some credit where credit is due. There's been a lot of things that have happened behind the scenes. I've spoken to members of the town council, virtually each and every one of them, and we have been working hard behind the scenes to try to come up with a solution. Unfortunately, the reality is right now our budget numbers are apart. We're not in the same place. But I do want to give the appropriate credit to Mr. McKay and other members of the council as well, who have reached out to us and that we've talked with, but we haven't come to a solution yet. And then very briefly, my bullet points, and I'm going to boil it down to the real nitty-gritty of what I want to say, is to some of the things that were heard before. This is not the same kindergarten that you folks went to. It's not the kindergarten I went to. We are in a Common Core world. This school committee, our superintendent, our assistant superintendent and curriculum people can't do anything about Common Core. It's mandated to us. We need to teach it. And what that means is that we're cramming a full-day curriculum into a half-day day, and it doesn't work. We talk about property values, whether you're a senior, whether you're a homeowner, whether you're a young family, whatever, our property values are important. And it's been said, you know, our school department has a direct correlation with our property values, and we need to be competitive there. A huge amount of our tax dollars, and increasing every year, is going to charter schools. Those charter school kids get full-day kindergarten, and we pay for it. And as a member of the school committee, I don't take lightly asking for an increase for a new program. I know that budgets are tight. I know that taxes are going up, and I'm very conscious of that. This particular year, we're asking for a very specific funding request for a very specific program that fits a very specific need in our town, and I'm fully comfortable in asking the town council, hopefully, to provide us with the funding to cover that program. But to do that, I'm not willing to cut programs in our school department that work. I don't want to be in a situation where, to make full-day kindergarten happen, we need to lose some of the things that make our school department great. And I'm not willing to do that, and that's why I hope we can come up with a way to make it work. And my last point, and I think this analogy really hits it, is that we are one of the last school districts in the state of Rhode Island to offer full-day kindergarten. People talk about whether or not we've missed the boat. We have missed the boat. The boat has sailed, and we are not on it. And more importantly, the charter school kids are on that boat, and we bought their tickets. And I want our kids to have the opportunity to get the full-day kindergarten education that they deserve and that they need. That's my bit. Thank you. Now it's your turn.
Does anybody have anything that they want to say on the town side?
School side.
On the.
Oh, your side.
Listen to the public.
Listen to the public.
Listen to the public.
Listen to the public, and thank you for the school committee members that have reached out and trying to come together with us.
Okay. First up on the list is Mark Zaccaria.
Thank you, Mr. President, honorable members of the Council School Committee. Forgive me if I've made a mistake. I thought this was a budget hearing, and so I'm here to make a couple of comments about the budgeting process that the Council is going through. If you decide that the regular surpluses declared by the school department over the last few years indicate that it already has funding for all-day K, but you wish to increase appropriations anyways, you can designate those increases for capital improvements for release when Asset Management Commission greenlights a CIP project for the school department. Alternatively, bear in mind, please, that you can make additional appropriations mid-budget if it's needed. So if you decide to make a smaller school appropriation now, there is a plan B later on. Conditions change. Thank you.
Thank you. I think Jim has decided not to speak on this. Gary Whitney, please.
Once again, Gary Whitney from 129 High Bank Ave. I just want to say again, I said before, you know, I've been a taxpayer here for eons, 30-something years, and all I see is my taxes going up and up. I can appreciate all the difficulties that the town council and the school committee has dealt with over the years, but frankly, I'm just plain frustrated. I hear we have all these mandates, we have Common Core, we have to meet all these things, and yet I see my taxes going up more and more than my overall income has been for eons. And I'm tired of it, okay? I've said it before, and I'll go and say it again. I mean, I never had full-day kindergarten. I turned out just fine, like some of these people out here said. And I hear everybody laughing, and yeah, they have their own opinions, of course, but I'm tired of paying for someone else's daycare. Call it what you want, but that's what I see it as, and I'm tired of it. We have a chance to save over $500,000 by not doing this, something that we've never had in this town before, and I am sick and tired of having to pay for these increases. And
Sorry. Please hold your voice. Thank you very much. You'll have your chance.
what can I say? I mean, no respect from the people up here, no respect from back there. I'm sick of it. I don't feel I'm getting a fair shake as a taxpayer. And I keep hearing that people come to this town for the school systems. Well, my friends, if the taxes keep going up, we're going to have a lot of people leaving this town for that same reason. Thank you.
Thank you. Amy Coleman, please.
Amy Coleman, 71 John Scott Lane. I have a child on waiting lists at both local charter schools because they offer full-day kindergarten. When a child goes to the charter school, the North Kingstown School Department is required to take $10,800 per child out of the school department's budget and send it to that charter school. The state aid associated with that child, which amounts to a few $1,000s, also goes with that child. It is projected that North Kingstown will pay charter schools over $1.2 million next year for North Kingstown students. Many parents in North Kingstown, like myself, prefer their child going to kindergarten at a local charter school because they have full-day kindergarten. In fact, last year, North Kingstown students made up 44% of the kindergarten class at Kingston Hill Academy and 25% of the kindergarten class at Compass School. And once a student starts at a charter school, they become a part of the community and they stay there. And their $12,000+ stays with them. It works both ways. My son was accepted into Kingston Hill Academy in the first grade, but I declined because we had become part of the community at Stony Lane, and we thought that North Kingstown valued its schools. After looking at a 5-year 9% raise versus a 58% raise, school versus town increase in tax dollar spending, I am questioning that, and I'm questioning my decision. I met with a member of the governor's staff and was complaining about the fact that North Kingstown loses so much money, so many students to charter schools in kindergarten, and his response was, then your town needs to fund full-day kindergarten. The money is there and the town needs to fund it. Giving a smaller portion of the total amount, which is approximately $525,000, will just mean cutting other programs for other students. We don't want that. The town council can stop the drain on the school department's budget from charter schools by competing with them and funding full-day kindergarten from the already proposed tax increase. Thank you.
Thanks. I think this is Craig Peria.
Hi, I'm Craig Pereira, 631 Ten Rod Road. There's currently $95,000 on the table right now from the state of Rhode Island to help offset the cost of implementing full-day kindergarten across the town of North Kingstown. Unfortunately, the school department can't access this money because there is no full-day kindergarten program. At last week's council workshop, council members Waxman and Maloney proposed to increase the allocation to the school department in a good faith effort to try to work towards a solution to that. We appreciate that, and we urge you to continue to do that. As a parent and as a taxpayer, I support full-day kindergarten in North Kingstown, and I ask that you all continue to work together to find a solution to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer Hoskins, please.
Jennifer Hoskins, 26 Sylvan Court, Saunderstown. Members of the council have stated that they are comfortable with the current allocation to the school department. We keep hearing the $1 million is enough for the school district. They can figure it out and figure out how to fund full-day K from that. But let's look at the $1 million. It is a 2.1% increase that only covers inflation-type fixed costs like salaries and benefits. The school department asked for new funds to implement full-day kindergarten That's what's missing, and that's what you need to do. You need to fund full-day kindergarten. You need to increase their budget. Thank you.
Kristen Perrier.
Kristen Pereira, 631 10 Rod Road. There's a misconception that the school department has asked for more than it really needs to operate. People are harping on the fact that it represents about 2/3 of the town budget. But when you look at the facts, this makes complete sense. The school department is bigger than the town. It has double the employees, more than 700 versus the approximate 600 the town, or 300 the town has. It has twice the buildings to maintain. Of course, its budget is larger. It costs more money to employ more people and maintain more buildings. That's why the proposed allocation is indefensible. The town's operations comprise only 1/3 of the overall budget, and yet the town is taking more than 2/3 of the tax increase. Give the school department its fair share so that it can implement full-day kindergarten. Giving a portion of the money will only lead to cuts in other programs. Otherwise, you will be asking the school department to rob Peter in order to pay Paul, and Peter is another child. And by the way, my child is also on the waiting list for a charter school, and the only reason we did that was because you don't offer full-day K. Otherwise, we have no other reason on earth to want to go to that charter school. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is Gwen Rutan, and then Jennifer McCann, please.
My name is Gwen Rutan. I live at 631 10 Rod Road, Apartment B. I'm just here as a representative, one representative of the senior population who believes in investing in children. I know senior services are important. I may choose to use some of those one day myself, but that doesn't excuse falling short when it comes to the education of 5 and 6 years old kids who need appropriate early education. I think you need to find the money. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer McCann, please. And then Brent Cleveland.
Jennifer McCann, 62 Douglas Drive. I urge you to fully fund the school budget. My children are currently in kindergarten and first grade. Funding full-day K will not directly benefit my family, but I firmly believe it will benefit our town. All-day kindergarten will provide students with the necessary instructional and exploratory opportunities to meet the demands of the Common Core. The low percentage of students, kindergarten and first grade students, at Quidnessett versus the other elementary schools who require expensive and time-intensive response to intervention remediation is proof that full-day K works and is essential. Maintaining strong and competitive schools increases our town's desirability, which in turn strengthens our town. We must fund all-day K.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brent Cleveland. Is Brent's gone? Julie Ostagai, please.
Julie Ostagai, 20 Sanford Avenue. Hi again. I just wanted to address, I believe it was Mrs. Manfredi. She had made a comment about being an educator and having educated previously with early childhood. And I just wanted to let her know that as a mother and a woman, I respect her wisdom. Unfortunately, times have really changed, and kindergarten isn't what it was when I went in 1985. And I naively thought that half day would be sufficient for my son because it was sufficient for me, it was sufficient for my husband. But it's not the case. That's not the case at all. And I would ask her, and I would ask any of us in this audience actually, who here hated kindergarten? Can I look that way? Is anyone raising their hand? Well, in North Kingstown, kids hate kindergarten. My son came home every day of kindergarten and told me he hated school. And I was the biggest nerd in the world. I loved school. And to hear that come from my son in his first year of formal education sickened me. Common Core curriculum, my son was the first kindergarten class to go through Common Core curriculum here in North Kingstown in half day, is the standard in Rhode Island and assumes a full day kindergarten. Since core curriculum started 4 years ago, and we don't have full day K, we have saddled 4 grades of kids with an instructional deficit. It has to stop. If you don't want to give the money, then I say, let's cut the 12th graders' day in half, and of course expect them to graduate on time. That's ludicrous. We wouldn't do that, would we? But that's what we're asking of our 5-year-olds in their very first year of formal schooling. I urge you to find a way to get this money to the school department. Thank you.
Chris Marinello and Denise Langfield, please.
Good evening again. Thank you for listening to us tonight, and for most of you for listening to me on the phone or in person. I do appreciate that, and I know a lot of the parents who've reached out to most of you feel the same way. Since the implementation of Common Core, as you've already heard, full-day kindergarten is a necessity. It's not a luxury. When we were last before you, the numbers were troubling enough. I was the one who came and said, excuse me, that the intervention rates, meaning kids not meeting grade level in kindergarten and first grade at Stony Lane, a really high-performing school, was 50%. Since that last meeting in March, unfortunately, that number's increased. 3 out of 4 kids at Stony Lane in kindergarten and first grade are not at benchmark. They're not at grade level. That is shocking and untenable. And we have good data that we can look at right in the town. We have Quidnesset that does have full-day kindergarten. Their intervention rate is 7%. 7%? 75%. You can't make up those numbers. It's very disheartening as a parent that this is a discussion that we have to have when that number alone should make the decision. I understand, however, budgets come into play. We're not naive. But that should be the driving force. You need to remember that. The entry point into school is important on many levels. A recent Brown University article talked about early childhood education and how important it is. It impacts a child's potential, whether they'll get pregnant in high school, how much money they'll make after college. Quality early education programs are statistically significant in a person's life, especially with respect to what we call soft skills or emotional intellectual quotient, EQ. A lot of you probably have heard about that. These skills measure the ability to communicate effectively and work with others. With our half-day kindergarten, we're not allowing our children the ability to develop those really important skills. And those skills are not just important to statisticians, they're important to employers. Entrepreneur.com, that's just the source, recently reported that 77% of employers said they seek candidates with soft skills. When we lament that there are so many job vacancies at Quonset and an inability to find people to fill them, we can't ignore the connection between fostering an appropriate education at the outset for kids to not only have the intellect, but the soft skills required to form the workforce that Quonset requires. Early education is a sound investment. The documented rate of return is 3 to 1. Show me any expenditure in the town budget that has a 3 to 1 return rate. It's not there. The money is there. The budget workshop last Thursday, there was a change in assumptions for just, some fixing of numbers regarding firefighters, 3 instead of 6, and some savings on some health care premium insurance. That's about a savings of $400,000, which could have automatically been allocated to fund this really important program. Instead, there wasn't a discussion. It was immediately put towards some potential exposure in 2017 and also into the surplus. That's disappointing as a parent to understand that that's what the priority is. We've been urging you to work collaboratively together with each other. The school committee already
Chris, I'm going to ask you to wrap up, please.
I am. I have one thing I want to say.
Thank you.
We've got a new program we want to fund. You have the power to make it happen. You can immediately impact the lives of all of our students by allocating the number. This is your call to duty. Use your EQ, please.
Thank you. Denise Langfield. Sarah Rosendale, please.
Good evening. My name is Denise Langfield, 44 Antelope Circle. I'm the mother of 2 children, one in 2nd grade at Stony Lane and one who will start kindergarten here in the fall. I'll be brief. This town has an unfortunate history of underfunding the school department, and I'm urging you, the members of our town council, to step up to the plate and provide the funding that is necessary for full-day kindergarten. Thank you.
Thank you. Sarah Rosendale. Renee Reese, please.
Good evening. My name is Sarah Rosendale, 42 Laurel Leaf Lane. I'm speaking to you tonight as a taxpayer, a mother of 3 young children, 2 of whom are currently enrolled in elementary school in North Kingstown, and 1 of whom will be entering kindergarten in the 2016-2017 year. I'm also a special educator. I work for a statewide program, and as such, I work in districts across the entire state of Rhode Island. I see firsthand, not only in my own children, but in the students that I work with, the impact that a half-day kindergarten program has on both the students and its surrounding community. As a taxpayer, a mother, and a professional, I ask that the town council approve the school department's requested increase in order to implement full-day kindergarten. Thank you.
Thank you. Renee Reese and Catherine Scott, please.
It's getting shorter. Renee Reese, 17 Lumley Avenue, and I'm going to repeat a little bit of what I had said at the last meeting. I'm assistant principal of Richmond Elementary School, and my students are happy coming to school. I greet them off the bus every day, and they are so happy to see us, and they're happy to be in our building. My son is coming here to kindergarten, and he's nervous about it. He's nervous that he's not going to be able to play, and he's not going to have fun. And I really feel that as a mom. But I also want to address the whole aspect of people needing daycare. I work part-time, and we don't need any assistance for daycare on a personal level, and I know that most families here don't need that. That's not our concern. Just to get back to the data, less than 10%, and really I know in my heart of hearts it's about a handful of my kindergarten students are receiving RTI. It's very rare. We're actually asked not to refer them until January, and it's very rare that we even retain a kindergarten student. So just looking at that data piece, it's very sad for me to think of Stony Lane, where I went to kindergarten, as being in trouble. And I hate to see that as a taxpayer, as a mom, and as a principal in another district. It really upsets me. So I'm going to make it short and sweet. Kindergarten has changed. I used to teach first grade. Back in '93 was my first year. And the students needed to come to me knowing their letters and their numbers. Now, first grade is basically in kindergarten, and our students have to read, they have to write, they have to leave kindergarten doing so much more than they were asked to do years ago. It's whether it's developmentally appropriate or not, it's not for me to decide. It's what is the fact and what is the curriculum and what is demanded with No Child Left Behind, among other issues. So please, we implore you, we people have said that mama bears are upset. Mama bears are upset, papa bears are upset, and we really need to get it done. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Catherine Scott, please, and then Bonnie Manfredi. You're up if you want it.
Hi again, Catherine Scott, 23 Sand Hill Drive. I live and work in both in North Kingstown. My kids do go to a daycare in North Kingstown. I pay for that myself. They will be going to school in 2016 to 2017. I have a hard time with that. At which point I believe the full day K will be mandated. So my thought is, why not get ahead of the game? And I know other people have thought of it if they've not said it. If it's going to be required, why are we waiting for it to be required? Why not work towards making it happen now? It just makes sense. That's what we do in our own homes. You know, if you're looking to buy a new house, you have to plan for it now. So I know it's hard, and I certainly don't want to cut from other kids, because that's not what it's all about. And to hear Julie speak about how her son hated kindergarten, oh, God, that feeling must be terrible, and it's a feeling that no parent should ever have. The kids should be enjoying this time. They're only little for a short period of time. So I really hope that we can work together and make it happen for our children. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Bonnie Manfredi and Jim McGuinn, please.
Bonnie Manfredi, 155 Summit View Lane. I'm not exactly sure why I'm being called again. Maybe I signed the wrong papers.
That's
I don't
all right.
know.
You probably said. Are you all set?
But no, I'm not.
Please.
I'm glad that I'm being called again because all I am hearing from a lot of people are about the Common Core tests. Now, that is a government program where you are testing to a test, you're teaching to a test, rather than really having the information absorbed by the students. Therefore, I don't think they're getting a better education because of a Common Core that is dictated by the government. In fact, I think we're all better off if there's less government in our life and not more government in our life. So I'm not, you can throw statistics out all day long, but it comes down to the fact of, are they really being better educated? And in my humble opinion, they are not. Thank you.
Thank you. Jim McGuinn and Greg Mancini.
Good evening again. Jim McGuinn, 412 Chimney Rock. I've been here for 21 years. My daughter has gone through the school system, and I've supported the schools long after she left. Through a private foundation, after a little girl passed away, we have given out scholarships to high school graduates that follow them all through college and through North Kingston graduates and all through grad school. I've also helped with playgrounds and other things for the schools, had seniors do projects. One is now a chemical engineer, and another's working in his grandfather's, never went to college, working in his grandfather's commercial plumbing business. Both very impressive young men. I've advocated for things like the Quinnesset Elementary roof when it was leaking, and there were tarps above little kids' heads full of water, and they were walking in wet carpets that teachers were complaining about mold. That's been fixed. And it was the company that I contacted, the manufacturer, and they paid for the fixes even though they didn't have to. I've also been looking at budgets, and every year for the past at least 8 years have come up and given opportunities for the school system to save $1 million without affecting one child. I have, and I will repeat, I am a product of a 3-year high school graduation in East Greenwich because Narragansett didn't have a high school back then. My sister's one who's a PhD and works at Texas Heart, and another one who's a lawyer, also 3-year graduates. That program still exists. There's an opportunity to save money where a student, advanced placement, they can spend their senior year in college. It's not a new concept. There are opportunities here in the budget. One of the things I heard was that every time a kindergarten child goes to a charter school, it's $10,800, plus the state funding, which is about $2,000 plus. I don't know what it's going to be next year. Let's say that's $12,800. If you get 39 children back, that's exactly $500,000. If you get 500 children that would have gone to charter schools for kindergarten back in the district, that's $500,000. Another piece of information, for the past 5 years, the schools have averaged above $1 million in surplus. That means at the end of the year, after they pay all the salaries and expenses, there's a surplus. Last August, there was $1.4 million, $1.6 million, still don't know what it was. There was money for the past 5 years to pay for all-day K. Not against it. Not against it. I think there's, and I've brought up year after year, there are issues with the school budget. It's full of negatives long after. I'm going to give this to the town council. For the record, I won't talk about it. But I think what we need to do, and I'm going to make a statement here, cut the town's budget by $500,000. Put it in undesignated fund balance. That balance is too low. If there's a hurricane and roofs blow off schools, you will not have the money to fix them. When Worcester had a tornado, it took 2 years for FEMA to come in with the money. 70% of the town's undesignated fund balance really represents the schools. And I would fund the schools $1 million more, but I would put half of that in capital improvements.
Wrap it up, Jim, please.
Okay? There have been, and I'm going to give for the record, there's been, fiscal year 2014, $1.2 million transferred out of the general fund for capital improvements. Year to date, $2.4 million. Plus, the town council gave last October $600,000 for Davisville L. The town has not been underfunding the schools.
Thank you. Greg Mancini and Christine Lopes Metcalf, please.
Thank you, Council President McKay. Greg Mancini, 61 Main Street. I'm also here and speaking on behalf of approximately 54 other parents whose kids play high school sports. We always don't agree with the town council, the school committee, but we certainly agree that all-day kindergarten is a good thing, and we're here to support it. For a lot of reasons other people said, so I'm not going to regurgitate those. But what I am going to say is this. This gentleman talked about how so many kids have gone out of the district because of charter schools. If you don't have all-day kindergarten, even more kids are going to go out. And what I fear, quite frankly, is ultimately the town council and the school committee are going to have to pay for two school budgets. They're going to have to pay for the town school budget, and they're going to have to pay for the school budget of all the charter schools because of the exodus of kids who are going to start to go to charter schools at kindergarten, because I don't think we're going to get them back. So I actually think approving this money will save the town money in the long run. I can tell you, I spent some time at the State House, and legislation right now, there's bills every year, but legislation right now to make or allow the charter schools to be reimbursed for their construction costs. So, I think that's one more kind of chip that's going to allow charter schools to be successful and take kids away from our school system. There's another bill that would allow or require the town where your child resides to pay for the special education costs for kids that go to charter schools. I only want to fund one school system, and I want it to be a good one. And I think if you don't approve all-day kindergarten, I think you're going to end up funding two school systems, and the charter school system and the public school system. So for those reasons, I support the extra money we support the extra money for all-day kindergarten. Thank you.
Nothing about hockey? Sorry.
For another day.
Thank you, Greg. Christine Lopes Metcalf, Melissa Toller, please.
Thank you, members of the committee. My name is Christine Lopes Metcalf. I'm the executive director of the Rhode Island Campaign for Achievement Now. We're a statewide education advocacy organization. I'm also a resident and a homeowner in Jamestown. So I'm a neighbor, and I clearly have a very vested interest in North Kingstown schools and want to support them as well. But I'm here to urge you to please support full-day kindergarten. It's quite appropriate that today's meeting would happen on the same day as the Rhode Island Kids Count Fact Book Breakfast, where this morning I spent 2 hours listening to the facts and figures about our state's children, but also listening to leaders talk about the importance of investing in our children at a very early age and supporting full-day kindergarten. Rhode Island mandated kindergarten as a requirement to enter the first grade in 1988. Almost 30 years later, report after report after report, study after study, talks about the benefits of full-day kindergarten. It talks about children enrolled in full-day kindergarten are more prepared for first grade than their half-day counterparts. Evidence shows that students earn better grades, score higher on assessments, become stronger readers, and gain the social and emotional skills we want them to have. When I started working in early childhood education in Massachusetts doing advocacy, an early childhood provider gave the best example to me about the brain development that's happening between 0 to 5 years of age. Children learn how to speak a language in 2 years. 2 to 3 years, your child has learned how to speak, how to walk, how to talk. Brain development research has gone light years in the last 30 years, if not before that. So children are able to do this. Children are capable. If they're supported and if they have a full-day kindergarten, they can have those services that are fully wrapped around. Here in Rhode Island, percentage of students in kindergarten is 76% statewide. Since 2000, it has tripled. Between the 2013-2014 school year, there were 70% of Rhode Islander students. Today, we learned that 81% of Rhode Island students are enrolled in full-day kindergarten in the state. Unfortunately, North Kingstown is one of 7 communities that does not provide full-day kindergarten, and the only community in Washington County. Tonight we've heard a lot about the fiscal impact of full-day kindergarten, and I'm not here to weigh in on the disagreements between the councils, but I am pleading for you to work together to allow full-day kindergarten to be a reality in North Kingstown. This morning, the governor talked about when the economy is out of gas. She was talking about Rhode Island, but I think we can talk about any community around Rhode Island. But when the economy is out of gas, who gets hurt? The kids get hurt. Investing in full-day kindergarten, because that's what it is an investment in our economy. Research shows, and I will provide for PolitiFact or for anyone on this panel as many research reports that they want for everything I've said today. But for every 1,000 additional kids who enroll in kindergarten, school districts save $2 million in fewer costs around remediation and students repeating grades. Families also looking to relocate look at communities that offer full-day kindergarten. I thought I didn't have to talk about the research around brain development, but I'm going to end here with something that Senator Jack Reed said this morning, which I think said it perfectly. Investing in children isn't only the right thing to do, it's the smart thing to do. So I urge you to please support full-day kindergarten. Thank you.
Thank you. Melissa Toller and Cynthia Griffin, please.
Hello, Melissa Toller. I have one child in second grade in the North Kingstown school system and another that will be entering kindergarten in the fall. My 5-year-old is very sophisticated. She's smart and she wants to learn. She does not need daycare. And the trouble I'm having with my second grader is that with Common Core, she's now learning a 3rd grade curriculum in second grade. I mean, she's 7, but you know, the kids need all the help they can get, and I fully support full-day kindergarten. We don't want to fall behind the other districts that are having it in the state. So please, I urge the town council, please support full-day kindergarten.
Cynthia Griffin and Matt Leonard, please. Is Cynthia Griffin here? Matt Leonard, please.
Good evening. Matt Leonard, 71 Wampanoag Circle. I said some things earlier, so I just want to talk a little bit about the school committee and the school department. It really feels like you guys have been under attack for a long period of time. There was issues many years ago. They've been resolved. I think we have the most transparent school department we can ever have. The work that's done, the way that the budget looks, that you can look at it, the facts that you spelt out today are irrefutable. The numbers don't lie. If you look at the other side, nobody that's against us, I haven't heard say, cut the town. It's an 8.8% increase in the town. I haven't seen the justification for the town side. You can go on the school department's website and you can download their budget, and it's clear. It's a clear picture. It has graphs. All the information has been put out there. On the town side, I'll say it again, it's horrible. You can't make heads or tails out of it. I don't know if it's deliberate, but they're an 8.8% increase. If we're supposed to value education, and we look at Massachusetts, the best school system in the country, they've instituted this in 1999-2000. We need to do that in North Kingston. We need to value education and go fund full day K. We're a town that has a golf course and a marina, only town in the state, and we're one of 6 that doesn't have kindergarten. And finally, I think it's very insulting that people say that parents want that for daycare. It's a pain in the butt to drop your kid off for 5 hours and pick them up. That's a lot harder than doing daycare. So thank you.
Sarah Fleury and Michelle Schmidt, please.
Hi, I'm Sarah Fleury. I'm from 188 Glenwood Drive. I'm a taxpayer in North Kingstown and a parent of 3 children. I have a son that's in Forest Park and 2 children that aren't in school yet. And I just wanted to say that I agree with what has already been said today in support of full-day kindergarten. I am asking you to please support additional funding to support full-day kindergarten. Thank you.
Michelle Schmidt and Miranda Prescott, please.
Hi, my name is Michelle Schmidt. I'm at 170 Orchard Woods Drive. I'm a school psychologist in the state, and I have a first grader who is in Hamilton in a class size of 26, and I have a daughter who will be starting kindergarten last year and another one on the way. So I'm extremely invested in the future of the North Kingstown educational system. I'm asking for you to just fund schools overall. Yes, I think we need full day K, but overall, because my son is now in a class of 26 in first grade, his quality of education is not where it should be with 26 students. And I will say that I've been lucky to be able to be home, and I loved having my son come home in the afternoon at half-day K. However, with Common Core, with the standards and expectations, it's not the same as it was in the 90s. I cannot teach. I don't have the qualifications. I'm a school psychologist. I wasn't trained as a teacher. I don't have the qualifications to teach him how to read, to teach them how to do math, what is expected by the end of kindergarten. It's just different now. It's just the way that it is. And it's not about them just learning their reading skills and their math skills. It's also giving them the confidence. When you hear kids are hating school in kindergarten, what does that mean as they become adolescents and are handling all of those hormones, the social difficulties? What happens when they go to high school? Have you heard the statistics about suicidal rates in high school students? Have you heard about the mental health increases? That starts in the early grades, giving them the confidence to be able to tackle what they need as they get older. I'm not concerned about my children getting into college. They probably will do fine. I've heard several people say, oh, my kids did fine. They went through school. I did fine. I did too. I had half-day K. I'm concerned about them being successful and feeling successful through elementary school so that they can continue to be successful through middle school and high school and get to college without doubting themselves and wanting to wallow in a, I don't know. I guess I come from a more mental health side of things, and there is that. It's a huge, huge deal. When kids are not feeling successful in school, they shut down, and that starts in the early grades. And hearing parents say that their kids hate kindergarten, what do you think? It's all of a sudden going to change as they move forward? I don't think so. Please, I just ask you to fund schools in general, because I would also like my first grader to have a much more successful school experience with a more appropriate class size. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Miranda Prescott, 441 Wickford Point Road. I do not have a preschooler or a pre-kindergartner, but I do have older kids at Fishing Cove Elementary, and I do support additional funding, and I want the town council to please fund full-day kindergarten for all of our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Virginia Sanders and Kate Dura. Kate Duva, excuse me. Is Virginia Sanders still here?
I believe she left.
She left, okay. Kate Duva and Selena Mahanti, please.
Good evening. My name is Kate Duva. I'm a parent of 4 children in North Kingstown. 3 of them are at Stony Lane. I have a 3rd grader, 1st grader, and kindergartner, as well as a 6-month-old. And God help us, by then I pray that it is mandate. But I am also an educator in North Kingstown. I'm a 4th grade teacher at Forest Park.
so I also approach this from a different stakeholder point of view. When you set out to build a new structure, the foundation is the most crucial part. If it's not built correctly, the issues that arise within that structure can cost more money than that structure itself. Common Core has set those sky-high expectations. It asks us as educators to build skyscrapers out of these children. The kindergarten Common Core expectations are built based on full-day kindergarten programming. Therefore, when North Kingstown continues to offer half-day kindergarten, we're building a foundation made of sand. The ramifications are being felt each and every day, academically as these students fall behind, struggling to reach the expectations set forward for them, in their social-emotional state as they attempt to cope with their frustrations over the demands placed on them, and financially as we continue to see an increase in response to intervention and special education referrals and services. We can continue to use our money to try and remediate the situation, or we can use this money and put it where it's truly necessary to fund full-day kindergarten and build a solid foundation for our kids and their futures. Thank you.
Thank you. Selena Mohanty and Kent Dresser, please.
Hi, I'm Selena Mohanty from 45 Sawmill Drive, and I went to school through the public schools all the way through college here in Rhode Island, and worked in schools in Arizona, D.C., Massachusetts, and then deliberately chose to come back to Rhode Island and buy a home here in North Kingstown. So I have a very vested interest here in the community and want the best for our community. But I'm also here to speak to you as an education professional. I worked as a teacher, a special education administrator, a dean of schools, and someone who teaches teachers how to teach better as well. I've worked in extended day pre-K and kindergarten as well. So I've seen not just how full day K can help students, but also extended day K. And many of this was before Common Core was implemented as well. So I've been able to see the impact it can have on students in all aspects of their lives, academically, socio-emotionally, physically, getting to get the activity they need and building the ability to build connections and relationships that can really further their entire lives and school careers. And so I really urge you to make an investment in our human capital and our youngest human capital here in Rhode Island and in North Kingstown, and fully fund the school committee's budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Kent Dresser and Pat D'Alfonso, please.
Thank you. Kent Dresser, 371 Glen Hill Drive, Saunderstown. I'll be brief. I'm in support of full-day kindergarten. I'm a product of the North Kingstown school system for elementary school. My parents took me out of the North Kingstown school system, moving to private school when I went to middle school. My wife and I, after our son was born, we moved back here to town, and one of the major deciding factors moving back here was the fact that we have a great school system. Half-day kindergarten might have been good enough for me. The world has changed. I look at my 2.5-year-old son now, and he has a harder road to travel than I had 35 years ago when I went to kindergarten. And I would think it would be a tremendous disappointment in the investment we've made here to move back into town and to be property owners and taxpayers here if we used our school district to help make that decision, and then it fails us. So please support all-day kindergarten for our children. Thank you.
Pat D'Alfonso and Jeremy Jackson, please.
Hi, thanks again. Pat D'Alfonso, 289 Wickford Point Road. So we've heard a lot about Common Core standards. It's like this aura, the standards behind the screen, if you will, and everybody's using it to whatever benefit they want. I just did a little search to look at the standards. I feel pretty confident in my knowledge about them, but did you know there are 74 standards just in English language arts, reading, writing, speaking, and listening for kindergartners? There are 25 math standards that students have to meet. Additionally, we have something new called Next Generation Science Standards. I didn't count them, but those students have to meet those standards. Beyond that, they have Rhode Island grade span expectations in history, civics and government and historical perspectives. Kindergartners have to meet those standards. In 2.5 hours a day, it's just not going to happen. I serve on a committee, so ESAA, the Elementary and Secondary Education Act is being reauthorized at the national level, and states are required to submit accountability standards, what the states will be accountable for. President Obama has already said that he will not move away from standardized testing. I don't anticipate that any of our presidents or legislators will at this point. But at the state level, I can tell you that RIDE has already said that students who do not meet the standards on the PARCC assessment in third grade, districts will have the potential to lose state aid. So if we are not funding kindergarten, if we are not funding a full-day kindergarten, and those students are required to meet, what did I say, 100 Common Core standards plus the science standards plus the history standards, and they don't meet it by the time they've hit third grade because they've already created this deficit by not being fully educated in kindergarten, it's just, you risk the point of losing funding when those kids get to third grade and they're not able to succeed. So it's just making those standards real. That's those 100 standards are what students need to meet. And when I counted it, I always knew there were a lot of them, but 100 standards in kindergarten. It can't
If
be
you get
done.
the chance, can you email that to us? Because
Absolutely.
Okay, I appreciate
Absolutely.
that. Excuse me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jeremy Jackson and Mike Twarug. I hope I didn't do anything wrong to that name.
Hello, Jeremy Jackson. Address really isn't that important, but most
Yes, it
important.
is. Please.
You guys have it right there.
Okay.
More importantly, North Kingstown.
I would like you to
resident, North
reiterate
Kingstown
your address for us, like everybody else has done, please. Jeremy.
21 Brownlee Court.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
North Kingstown resident, North Kingstown taxpayer. That's more important, I think. And also in favor of full day K. Recently moved to the city last year, my family and I, out looking for different areas to live, different areas to move from. We've been in Rhode Island for the last 10 years, and we chose North Kingstown. Part of that search criteria was the school system. People move to a city for a good school system. So North Kingstown has a high-performing school system. My wife and I had looked at that. We have young kids. My son is currently in the kindergarten program now at Stony Lane, but I have a daughter coming in 2 years behind that. So I do think it's important to keep funding the school system so that that can grow and evolve. And I think this school system can still be a great school system, but it needs the funding, and it needs equitable funding and alignment with what everybody else is getting for increases year after year. I'm not to say that I'm in favor of a 3+% tax hike. I think that's absurd for this going forward. But I am in favor of challenging all departments to go through and look at where their budgets stand. We've got the school committee has already sounded like they've put forward, they've taken measures, they've gone for it, they've looked for chances to save, opportunities to save, and they've done a good job at that, it sounds like. I'm not hearing that from the other side of the fence, though. Where's that scrutiny? It's great. I mean, there's some people here saying, hey, you guys are $1 million under, right? Fantastic, right? Somebody that can manage their budget and come in under budget as opposed to over budget, right? Enlightened. And even at $1 million, right, based on the total budget of, $60 million, right, that's less than 2%. To hit a budget at 2%, I wish my business could do that. The place where I work, I wish I could hit my budgets that well. And it's great that they're able to give back to the community that can't manage their budget so well, so that the town doesn't continue to go over and overrun their year after year budgets. But I do challenge the school department in that instance to maybe help the town council out. You guys have put in a lot of hard work. You found cost-saving opportunities with healthcare. If you're not sharing it, maybe with the other departments around the town, maybe that would be an area where you guys could definitely help out those guys and, let's save money so we don't have this 3% tax hike. I don't think anybody wants that. This open checkbook policy, it seemed, there was talks earlier today about everybody else that put in budget requests got exactly what they wanted. Why wouldn't anybody come in for, high budgets? The only people that didn't get it was the school committee. They're the ones going through all this rigor and stuff, and it seems like they've got the most open, honest books. Go challenge everybody else. Where's the scrutiny and the rigor on everybody else's budgets, as opposed to just saying, yep, we'll give you what you want, no questions asked, kind of thing. So it's a tough challenge ahead. I know this isn't going to happen. Everybody's got to work together, figure out the solution, and we can get through this. But On a side note, seniors aren't leaving North Kingstown. They're leaving Rhode Island. It's cold. Nobody wants to be up here. Taxes are high in New England. We can't blame North Kingstown School District funding or North Kingstown funding on seniors leaving the area. It's just absurd. All day, full day. Okay.
Mike, it's T-W-A-R-O-G, Twarog. It would be Chris Madoyan and Carolyn Vieira.
Chris Madoyan, 70 Spring Road. So I come up here tonight, I guess, with a little different perspective. I surely don't envy any parent of a kindergartner because I don't think I could handle it. My kids are a little grown at this point. I have one in college, a senior at the high school, and a sophomore here at the high school. So I was just here tonight to kind of speak on behalf of what I see in the budget in terms of your capital reserve. I see it on the headline, but unfortunately I don't see a number in there. And as for full disclosure, I am the president of the North Kingstown Booster Club. So some of the concerns that we have, and I think for you parents who are coming here tonight with discussing the all-day K, is to stay involved throughout your children's educational process, because I think, Mr. Barskarden said it, and I think Mr. Jones said it again about sustainability and supporting our assets. Here at the high school, this high school was built, 10, 12 years ago now?
Almost 15.
Almost how much?
15.
15. And it's a beautiful building, and you drive by and you feel that it's in pristine shape. But we have tennis courts that cannot be used. We have a track that cannot be used. And those are two items that are used by this townspeople. It is not just the students here at North Kingstown High School. You can come here on the weekend and see the tennis courts being used, but there are large cracks in those tennis courts where our athletes cannot utilize them. And our track, which is open to all townspeople to use and to walk on a regular basis. You come here on a nice sunny afternoon on a weekend, you'll see people utilizing the track. But our track team isn't really hosting any home events this year because of the condition it's in. And I think when I look at a budget and I see a reserve, that's what I see that money being appropriated for at some time. And I think Mr. Jones said it best in terms of that sustainable plan and putting that in there, because I think we all do it in our home budget. You talk about putting money away for that rainy day fund when you need to do that. And I think we need to do that here in North Kingstown because that is an asset. People do move here because of the educational process. But that is also important. And people have also said being competitive. We need to be competitive on the front end, having the all-day K, because, again, I don't want my money going to a charter school because we do have an excellent educational system here. My kids have grown here would not choose to go anywhere else. I will say that. But we also, at the high school level, have to be competitive when we're trying to draw those students from Jamestown, because now they have the choice to send them to Narragansett. And my kids have gone through here, and the Jamestown folks offer a lot to this school. We just hosted our annual fundraiser on Saturday evening, the Evening of Champions, and many Jamestown parents are there supporting the athletic programs at North Kingstown High School. Unfortunately, we raise a lot of money. We don't raise enough that we can pay for a track and all that. I wish we did, because there are a lot of other things we'd like to do. But I just ask you to keep in mind those aspects of the asset and funding that. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Carolyn Vieira and Leanne Barrett.
Hi.
Hi.
Carolyn Vieira, 60 Thornton Way. 10 years ago, in 2010, my husband and I moved to this community after an exhaustive look at other communities, including East Greenwich and Barrington. And by far, North Kingstown won out for the location, the environmental offerings, the access to 4 and 9-5, and yes, because of the impeccable reputation of your high-performing education system. As a top Rhode Island community, we must build, sustain, and fund our school systems. We want to stay a community that is proud of our schools. We need to fund full-day K in order to enhance and build our reputation. We need to attract and retain top talent. Good schools is a winning formula for revenue. I believe we live in the greatest community in Rhode Island with the greatest potential. Let's not fail our potential. To me, as a resident, this is not a North Kingstown school issue. This is a North Kingstown brand issue.
Funding full-day kindergarten is a smart business decision. It's been said before, I'll say it again. And yes, I do have a child who's a second grader and one a rising kindergartner in the Fishing Cove system. I've seen what we can do, and I've seen the potential, and I support fully funding full-day kindergarten. I think you guys have the chance to be heroes this year, and I fully encourage you to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Leanne Barrett and Julie Casamaro.
Hi, thank you. My name is Leanne Barrett. I'm here from Rhode Island Kids Count, which is a statewide children's policy organization. Christine talked about us. We had a big breakfast this morning, and we released a big fact book with all the data information to inform policymakers as they make their decisions. So I'm here in support of full-day kindergarten. I brought copies of our full-day kindergarten indicator, which has information on all of the school districts in Rhode Island. I didn't bring enough. I'm impressed at how many of you are here. I have 10 copies, which I'll leave for you. And you heard other people talk about the impact of full-day kindergarten on kids. There are research studies that have proven that children who get full-day kindergarten make significant gains in early reading, math, and social skills when compared to children who only get half-day kindergarten. When districts decide to lengthen the school day is used effectively to increase instructional time for children. Children who are in full-day K, 68% of kids in full-day K spend more than 1 hour per day on early reading instruction compared to only 37% of kids who are in half-day K. And kids who are in full-day K have great opportunities for early math, early science, early social studies, and the other great things, art, recess, important social emotional skill building. So we know it works. We know that it's very common at this point. We are at 81% now statewide for this school year, 2014, 2015, 81% of children in Rhode Island are in full-day K. 100% in the 4 core cities are in full-day K, and 100% in all the public charter schools in the state are in full-day K. Nationally, as of 2013, 77% of kids across the U.S. were in full-day K. So we're really past the tipping point. We're really at the finish line as a state that we're going to get to full-day K sooner or later. And I wanted to just take a look at where you guys are with North Kingstown at 31% of your children as of October. You had 64 kids in full-day K out of your population of 205 kids, which is 31%. And you were the closest out of the 7 districts that don't have full-day K. You've already got it started, and I'm sure you can do it. And I just want to offer our support for full-day K. Thank you.
Thank you. Julie Casamaro and Christine Charpentier.
Hi, Julie Casamaro, 329 Wickham Road. I'm here as a taxpayer in North Kingstown who doesn't have any children, never put any children through the North Kingstown School Department, but I'm here in full support of full-day K. It's our responsibility to invest in children early to give them the very best possible start in life. You've heard Christine and Leanne talk about the statistics. You've heard everybody talk about the statistics of what the impact of full-day K does, so I'm not going to bore you with that again. But I just want to mention that states across the country are expanding access to full-day kindergarten programs. In 1979, only 25% of America's kindergarten-age children were enrolled in full-day programs. The most recent data places that number over 76%. Rhode Island needs to be a part of this if we want to remain competitive. Here in Rhode Island, the percentage of kindergartners enrolled in full-day kindergarten has more than tripled since 2000. Unfortunately, that type of increase hasn't occurred across all districts. All children should have access to full-day kindergarten, not just some children. So I ask that you support full-day kindergarten in North Kingstown.
Hello, Christine Charpentier.
Hi, Christine, and then Kelly McPartland.
So, 11 Elm Drive. I think I misspoke earlier.
Thank
I came
you.
out of turn. I apologize.
No,
So just
it's
to
all right.
reiterate real quickly, 2 kids, Stony Lane, second grade. Huge disadvantage being the fact that they had half-day kindergarten. And I think the biggest point to make is, as a parent, I don't understand Common Core. So for those of folks who don't have kids, young age kids, I understand it's impossible for you to understand the challenges that our kids are facing and that we as parents are facing. And I think it's almost impossible for our educators to be able to do this with the system that's in place now. So I fully support full-day K.
Thank you. Kelly, and then Maria LaRue, please.
Hi, I'm Kelly McPartland of 158 Sunnybrook Drive. I am the Forest Park PTO president. I am a Girl Scout troop leader, and I am an active participant in our community. I have 4 children, 2 children who've been through the kindergarten, 1 child in kindergarten right now, and 1 not yet in elementary school. And I can tell you that the kindergarten that my 9-year-old went through is not the same kindergarten that my 5-year-old is in right now. Those kids need full-day kindergarten. I know that you all know that we have amazing children in our community. That goes without saying. We have a wonderful community. Our community's children deserve the funding for full-day kindergarten. Thank you.
Thank you. Maria?
Hello. My name is Maria LaRue, 32 Highbush Terrace. My children are in 2nd grade and 1st grade this year at Stony Lane, so I will not benefit from full-day kindergarten, but I did volunteer many times in their classrooms in kindergarten, and it was very clear that the children did not have time to socialize, to play, to be children. And I know people don't understand why that is necessary, but in kindergarten it is. And we had one of the best teachers that we could have had for kindergarten. So please, please fund full-day kindergarten. And also, I've been thinking about what to say, and I'm thinking to myself, I am a taxpayer here, and you're the town council, and I'm kind of thinking that you're similar to our PTO at our school, where the role of the PTO is to do what is best for the school. That's the same role that you have for our town. And I ask that you look at this seriously. Have a budget. Be transparent. We are responsible to do the same as a PTO. And if anybody had questions, I would love for them to come up and ask me, why is this? Why is that? So be transparent for us. We are the taxpayers. As a PTO, we're dealing with people's either donations or fundraisers, money that they have raised from hard work. We are giving you money because we have to. We are here at this town and we have to pay taxes. So use our money wisely. You're increasing the town's budget and you're not giving money where your taxpayers are asking you to. So please listen. Please listen. Thank you so much.
Angela Arsenis and Rachel Butts, please.
Hi, everyone. Angela Arsenis, 174 Fieldstone Lane. I have 3 children, very young in age. I'm in favor for the full-day kindergarten. Obviously, we need it for our students. We need it for the children. They cannot learn the curriculum within 2.5 hours. I took a step back a couple months ago, and I was looking around my neighborhood. In my cul-de-sac, there's about 30 houses. Within the last year, full calendar year, 10 homes sold, and they sold fast. And when I talked to these new neighbors that came into the neighborhood to introduce myself, they said to me, we moved here for the school system. They didn't move here for the beaches. They didn't move here for the golf course or anything else that the town has to offer. They moved here for the school system. And yes, my neighborhood does have older retirees as well. But the bottom line is, this is what North Kingstown is known for. It's for the school system. That's the main reason I moved here. I have 2 schools that I could send my kids to. I can sign them up and send them somewhere else, but I choose to send them to Stony Lane because I like Stony Lane, and that's the main reason I moved to North Kingstown. The bottom line is, our last meeting that we were at, you had asked the crowd, where is the money going to come from? Right? Remember that? Where's the money? And what did the people say? What did the people say? They all screamed, raise our taxes. When have you gone to a town council meeting and the town council has asked, where is it going to come from? And the people have replied, raise our taxes. I haven't. I've never been to one where they scream, raise our taxes. So the bottom line is, you guys are raising our taxes, but you're not funding the school system? You're not funding full-day kindergarten? As a taxpayer, that makes me angry. And you know what? The bottom line is, if this doesn't pass, I am going to pull my children out. I'm going to pull all 3 of my children out of the school system. And yes, then everybody can be paying for my children to go to the other schools. That's the bottom line. And what's going to happen to all of the other 10 neighbors that just moved into North Kingstown? They're probably going to do the same thing. And the bottom line is, we need to find the money. Bottom line, you're raising our taxes. Find the money. Everybody needs to come together as a council and find the money to give it to our children. There's no need to be cramming this into our children within 2.5 hours. No need for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Rachel Butts and Kate Porter, please. Is Rachel here? Is Kate Porter here? Oh, okay. You are Kate? And Susan Belarchik.
My name is Kate Porter. I live at 30 Browning Drive. I've lived in North Kingstown for most of my life. I have children in 4th grade and 2nd grade at Stony Lane School, so implementing full-day kindergarten will not affect my family either. But I am in support of full-day kindergarten and an increase in funding to the school department this year. Today I want to take a closer look with you at the history behind the funding of the school department and the town of North Kingstown. Our town manager has used a spreadsheet that shows that the money given to the school department from 1998 to the present has increased 67%. But 44% of that increase was simply due to inflation. Wage inflation was actually a bit higher than that over the same period, more like 55%. And by far the biggest chunk of the school department's budget, almost 60%, is salaries. Inflation applies to the school department's budget as much as it would to any household budget. Further, pension expenses skyrocketed around 2003 after the effects of the 2001 stock market crash began to be felt by the pension fund, as we've heard here tonight. 3 additional factors necessarily increased the school department's budget during that time. The first, unfunded and underfunded mandates at both the state and federal levels have increased, as you've heard, such as No Child Left Behind, which was implemented in 2001. Second, during the period from 1998 to 2006, districts all over the state saw a 45% increase in general education expenses, but special education expenses went up 83% at the same time that federal reimbursements went down. Third, out-of-district tuition for charter school students, as you've heard here many times tonight, vocational school students and special education students has risen significantly over that time period. Tuition for charter schools in North Kingstown alone is projected to be over $1.2 million next year. The town manager does not mention these 198 out-of-district students when he talks about the decrease in enrollment. This skews the per-pupil expense numbers. As Dr. Auger talked about earlier, the latest available data show that the North Kingstown's per-pupil spending is $14,779. This is the 14th lowest in the state out of 36 school districts. On page 2, the town manager's own spreadsheet shows town spending over that same period. While the school department's demand on tax dollars has gone up 108%, the town's demand on those same tax dollars has gone up 115%. That's an additional 7% increase that the town has asked of our taxpayers without the same extraneous demands that are placed on the schools. We're asking you to look at the facts and be fair with the distribution of the tax increase. All other town departments received the amount of increase they requested, and the school department should too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Susan Balsterak, 16 Mallet Lane. I have 2 sons in the North Kingstown public school system who have been through the half-day K and one who's in it now. We moved here in 2005 from Newport, and the main reason was because of the schools. But we have one of the highest-ranked school systems in the state, yet we are one of the last districts to fully adopt all-day kindergarten. I've heard the argument that our school district continues to achieve high scores despite the fact that we have half-day K, which means that our teachers and students might be making up for the difference. But I would argue that bridging that achievement gap puts an undue stress on both the teachers and the students in the first, second, third grade levels to catch up to other students who have benefited from all-day K. That's something that I've seen in my own son, especially my middle son, when transitioning from half-day K to first grade. An article in last week's Northeast Independent voiced the town council's concern that the per-pupil cost of education in our town has risen significantly over the last 15 years as the number of students has dropped. And they compared the increasing cost of operating the town to the increasing cost of operating the schools as if they should have a linear relationship. This is like comparing apples to oranges, as the per-pupil costs have been dependent on a myriad of factors, completely separate from the factors that drive up town operating costs. Just a few examples of these are the advent of the charter schools in the early 2000s, state and federal mandates, and implementation of changing curriculums. There was a letter in the opinion section of the same newspaper by Sarah Goldberger this past week titled "Full-Day Kindergarten Contributes to Success," which also addressed the notion that full-day K is an issue that's much bigger than our town and much bigger than this moment of debate in our town budget. In her letter, she said, "We need to consider the fact that what we do today affects decades of tomorrows. This large group of your constituents is here tonight to call on you to act as their representatives, as your position in the town council, as a town council member dictates, and to work together to do the right thing for the youngest members of our community. We're not investing in our youngest residents, and we're asking them to shoulder the burden of making up the difference of what we're denying them. Here they are in one of the best school districts in Rhode Island, yet we do not care enough to keep in step with the majority of schools in our state and even in our nation. The time is now. Now is the time to implement full-day K." Thank you.
Rebecca McCarthy and Lisa Korzanowski.
Hi, I'm Rebecca McCarthy. I live at 467 Westmoreland Lane in Saunderstown. My family and I moved here this summer, and we have 4 children, 1 in Wickford Middle School, 2 in Hamilton Elementary, and 1 not in school yet. When we moved here, one of our main reasons was the school district, and so far we've been very happy with the education that our children have been receiving here. My fear of the town council underfunding the school system is that things will begin to deteriorate. We're seeing large class sizes already, and we know the impact that can have on a young child's education. If we're underfunding the school system, we will see those numbers grow. I also feel that by not having enough funding to give teachers the raises that they deserve and to keep the salaries up within the state, we will not attract highly effective teachers to our district, and that will become an issue for our children's education as well. And also, by not funding, we will see a larger need for intervention in our children, which will in turn require more funding. If we don't fund full-day kindergarten now and we don't fund our school system as it's needed, we will see all these things happen. We will see money needed to be taken away from other children, other grade levels, sports, music. We don't want to see that happen to fund full-day kindergarten. We want to see the town council use their money wisely to support this program. Please fund the school system. Please give them the money that they need to educate our children. Thank you.
Tanya Carroll.
Hi, my name is Lisa Korzadowski. I live at 437 Westmoreland Lane in Saunderstown. I'm not going to repeat what everybody else has already said 100 times over, so I'll keep this short and sweet. I have 2 children who attend Hamilton Elementary School. We've also been very happy with the education that we receive there. We know it's because of the hard work and dedication of those teachers, because some of those class sizes are just so large. It's really has a real big impact on the way the teachers teach, on the way the kids learn. So I ask that, I don't have any kids in kindergarten. I have 2 children, 1 in first grade and 1 in third grade, but we are fully in support of full-day kindergarten. So please, please strongly consider funding full-day kindergarten. Thank you.
Tanya Carroll and Jim Coleman, please.
Hi, my name is Tanya Carroll, 118 Pinecrest Drive. I'm also not going to repeat everything that everybody said, although my children are in 1st and 4th grade at Hamilton. We also moved to North Kingstown for the schools. We had our pick of any town in Rhode Island, pretty much Connecticut, Massachusetts. We weren't wedded to Rhode Island even, and we chose North Kingstown. And I get very upset when I hear that the school department is getting cut, that the funding is being cut over the time, because we have seen in other towns, and I don't have data to demonstrate this, but I'm sure it's out there, that over the long term it's going to affect our performance. And I can already see a difference between my daughter in 4th grade now, my daughter in 1st grade. My daughter in 1st grade is in classes at the CAP. Her classmates were redistricted to another school because we were at the CAP because they cut teachers, and they're going to cut teachers again next year. So this is an issue. So we can already see that the decrease in funding is affecting the kids, and that doesn't even touch the full day K. So I don't understand what's going on here with the budget, what you are thinking of the long-term projections of this town, but families aren't going to come here. They're not going to move here if they see that the school department is affected. So please consider not only fully funding what the school department is asking for, but also full day K is so important for the long-term history of this town and for our population. Thank you so much.
Jim Coleman, Brian McCumber. Jim Coleman, Brian McCumber, Matt Totora.
Good evening. Brian McCumber,
No.
20 Bromley Court. First of all, thank you. Thanks for taking the time to listen to us here tonight. It's certainly been a long session. It's well past my bedtime. Forget about my kids here. But I really want to focus more thematically on a couple things that I heard tonight, so I'm going to steal a little thunder. And it goes back to two things. I've heard that it's the right thing and also that it's the smart thing, that being full-day kindergarten. With the right thing, we've heard a lot of statistics tonight. Two that really stuck out to me were 30 of 36 communities that we're getting left behind. That there's countless studies that show that there's better outcomes for our kids. And the smart thing, I actually work in the investment business, and so I'm really all about this. We've heard a lot about reasons why folks move to North Kingstown. I myself actually made a very similar decision as to where to locate my family. It was because of the school committee, or because of the school district. I don't believe there's anywhere that we're going to get a better return on our investment than by investing in our kids. And our youngest are the ones will get the biggest return. So, to the town council, the town of North Kingstown is depending on you to do the smart thing and also to do the right thing. And we're asking you to do that. Thank you.
Matt Totora and Mr. Welch, Richard Welch.
Hi, Matt Totora, 72 Johnson Avenue. I moved here 3 years ago. My family's a military family. I'm a veteran. My wife is active duty Navy down in Newport. We moved here because of the school district. That was the only reason we really moved here. We looked at a lot of other houses in a lot of other places around Rhode Island, and we moved here because of that. At the time, we only had a 12-year-old son. Now we have a 1-year-old daughter, and she's on her way to the school district. Our decision at this point is going to be what's going to give her the best opportunity in life. And a half day of kindergarten is definitely not going to do that. Just like this community, the military is a community, and we have met with families coming to this area that are looking for places to live that are stationed here in Newport. And there were 3 families that we brought to North Kingstown to show them around, and they had kindergarten-age children and decided not to move here specifically because they can't facilitate 2 hours, 2.5 hours, 3 hours, whatever it is, to be able to have their kids just spend that period in school. So I really, really think that from everybody that has come here, they are the people who pay the taxes. They vote for the people who choose where the taxes go. And I think at this point it's pretty easy to make the call that we need to have full-time daycare, especially when you look around the country. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Full-time kindergarten.
Freudian.
But it's so not daycare that it's not even funny, because right. So we have all these people who are wanting this to happen, and it's truly something that will make the prospect of moving to this area definitely more appealing, I think. Thank you.
Thanks.
Getting into that bewitching hour. Richard Welch, 8 Arrow Lane. First of all, I'd like to say that I don't think I'm going to have any kids anytime soon that will be in the school district. And
Wait, you don't know.
and my grandchildren don't live in North Kingstown, so I don't have a proverbial child in this program. But I do support going forward with the all-day K, and that was decided tonight, by the way. Having listened to some interesting information, especially the relationship between the charter schools and us paying for people to have their children go to all-day K at the charter schools coming out of our budget, that I'm so much against charter schools in North Kingstown. We have a performing school district, and those of you who have served with me on school committee know that I have been against it right from the very beginning. It's a sham. It's on North Kingstown and its taxpayers. That being said, I'll move on. I was very happy when we changed auditors and concerned. And I mentioned after the first review by the new audit firm came out to come in front of the school committee and say, once again, you had a clean sheet. I was concerned because I thought that possibly the new auditors might find things different, and they didn't. And that has remained so. And that is such a plus when we talk about the school committee and the school administration keeping their house in order. Those of you who served with me on school committee know that I have always been physically conservative and concerned about how we spend our money. Not that we spend it, but how we spend it and get as much value as possible. That hasn't changed. One of the things that we did while I was on school committee, I wasn't the one who brought this up, but we did an early retirement program that the first year saved the district $504,000. I don't know why we don't do that again. We have the 10th step and above teachers have gone from what at one point was about 67% of our faculty. We're now up above around 71 or 72%. That number's too high, and we need to do something about trying to do an early retirement program. I looked at your numbers that you proposed on the all-day K, and I saw that you have 4 positions for aides as being full-time, and I don't know why. You can have part-time aides that will cost you far less than full-time aides. You got them in there, I believe, it's costing about $51,000 or $52,000. That number is high in my mind.
Dick, if I can address that, contractually we're limited in the number of part-time aides that we...
Those are new positions. I don't know why that even comes into the contract.
It's still there.
18.
You know.
Well, isn't that contract up this year?
It is.
It is. The second thing is, the teachers that you have in there, you have 4 full-time teachers at $82,000+. We always used the number of $65,000 per teacher. I didn't understand how come it's so high.
It includes benefits and taxes.
Well,
That's
at
all in.
$65,000 it did.
I don't think so.
Well,
guys, hold on a second. Dick, we're a little over the time frame. Is it the opinion of the board up here that they want to listen a little bit longer on this? Yes? No? Just an informal. Would you like to hear a little more? Please be my guest.
I don't agree with that. We always use $65,000 for a teaching position, and now all of a sudden it's 82. I was disturbed to find out that you folks have dropped out of the Rhode Island Association of School Committees. I will tell you that for the 4 years that I was on the school committee, I went every time they had a meeting. And every time I went, I learned something and brought it back to the school committee. It's an indefinite value and for a little bit of money. Okay.
Please.
I think I can stop there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to say something? Thompson.
Ricky Thompson, 194 Plain Road. I'd like to start out by speaking to the school committee. I'm a 22-year resident in North Kingstown, no kids, so nobody's gone through the school system on my side of the family. I've learned about all-day K over these past months, and topped off by tonight, I'm a full supporter of full-day K, and somehow, some way, it needs to be implemented in North Kingstown. Now, I'd like to speak to both groups. I've heard comments tonight about how we could save some money. I've previously heard comments on the town council side how we could save some money. Can the two groups get together, the 12 of you get together, and talk about saving some money and implementing full-day K and save me some tax money at the same time? I would appreciate that. I think everybody would like that, and I think that everybody would be happy doing that. I think pointing fingers has got to stop. You guys got to work together. You got to find a way to work together, and I think it's possible if you try.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Megan Anastasi, and I live at 127 Misty Meadow Lane. And to me, listening to everybody's great ideas tonight came down to two clear options. A, we can fund prepared, happy, confident, cute little 5- and 6-year-olds by supporting a full-day kindergarten program. Or B, we can fund charter schools along with the special education, counseling, and intervention services for those cute little innocent 5- and 6-year-olds who have failed. It's a very clear-cut decision. In education myself, the money is going to get spent. Education has changed. You choose to be proactive to fund this, or not proactive and fund the services that are going to have to result in that decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Yes. Come on up, Carla.
Get that bike out.
Carla Driscoll, 49 Baker Way. After 40 years of living in this town and coming to the old town meetings and everything, I have a question. Whether the process has changed. This is a budget hearing. And as far as I understand, the town council votes on the budget, gives the school committee your money, but they can't tell you how to spend your line items. Is that still the way it works? So if they give you, for example, $1 million, it's up to you how you spend it.
That's correct.
So they can't tell you whether or not to have full-day kindergarten. Am I correct in that?
In a roundabout way, they can.
But I mean, but the bottom line is, they can tell you, here's your money, and it's really your decision to have full-day kindergarten.
In a roundabout way, again.
Yeah.
If the
Okay,
funding's
but
not there, it can't get done.
yeah, because you people are really, you really know what's best for our kids. We really elected you to make the educational choices for our children. Ultimately, I really have confidence in you from the educational perspective of this community. From a budget perspective, am I correct in that? It hasn't changed, has it? No.
If they don't pay for it, then we can't do it.
No, I understand, but I'm just saying from the educational perspective, making the educational decisions. Am I right? And they give you, because I can remember years ago saying that they have no line item veto over you folks, okay? Because I've been away, and I have fortunately missed all the comments that have been made. So
Very true.
I came with a clean slate tonight. I just wanted to clarify that. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
And I really have trust in all of you to do what's best, because we have a great community. I wouldn't be here 40 years later. I have no children in this town anymore. So thank you all for all your service, though. And we'll talk to each other.
Thank you, Carla. Anybody else?
Joan Pacino, 244 Hatchery Road. Listening to all the testimony here this evening by all these wonderful people who've come out to make their voices heard, I've heard a few themes that concern me. Common Core is not something we asked for. We may not even like it. We may find 15, 20 years from now that it was a disastrous mistake, which is unfortunate. A lot of this started with the Bush administration when they gave us No Child Left Behind. Right now it's leaving our budgets behind everywhere. But one thing I am sure of, and I've been paying attention to over the years, is that our school committee has done yeoman's work, I feel, in paring the budget down in all the ways that they can. I'm a parent, I'm a grandparent, I'm also a former teacher and a nurse. And I've seen in the schools, I spend a lot of time in there in an advocacy role for my own grandchildren. And I see and I hear things that tell me clearly that we're already starting to see very little areas of stress within the system, a position being lost, a program being cut. I've watched the school's vocational career program evaporate years ago. And it disturbs me that if we don't do the things we need to do now with all-day kindergarten, which is the stepping stone into our school system, and it should be the best experience of our children's lives. If we don't do that now, we will see those effects coming down the road. And if we continue, and one thing I'm not crazy about hearing over and over is, you people got to get along. This isn't kumbaya. This is two groups of people who were elected to do a job for us. And I think every one of you do as good of a job as you possibly can. But it's not a matter of sitting in a circle holding hands. These are hard budget decisions. And I really feel, and I say this honestly, I think the school committee has done a very good job with what they've been asked to do over the last several years to make things as lean as they can. So if people aren't working together, where's that happening? Who's not working? They can't just sit there and say, hey, listen to us. We've got what we need and we're asking you for it, and you just sit there and go, no, we're going to give it to this year and we're not going to give it to you. Is that working together? I don't know. I don't think it's as simple as saying working together. I think that the town side of this budget has to get a lot leaner. I don't want any higher taxes. Mine are as high as I want them to be, and I don't think anybody else here wants them either. I don't think we need to raise taxes, quite frankly, to implement full-day kindergarten. I think we've got to start cutting on the other side of the town's budget. I think we need to look there for some cuts. I think the school department has done a very good job, and it's not fair to keep asking the school department to be the one to take the cuts year in and year out when those savings and those sacrifices only end up being spent frivolously on the other side of the budget aisle. Thank you.
Anyone else like to have a word or two tonight? Anybody on the dais like to have something to say? Kevin?
I'd just like to say, I myself would not like to see the taxes raised. I'd love a zero tax increase, but the reality is, our infrastructures, there's a lot of things we need to spend money on. This is one of them. This is a service that this town needs to do. Right now, our roads are, because of the snow has just left, and our department hasn't had time to go out and fix them, but our roads are horrendous. No one's in here complaining about the roads. I think we had one or two, but nobody's complaining about the transfer station hours or anything else. But we've spent 3.5 or more hours, and the majority of the conversation is saying we need to get this fixed and we need to work on this. So I just hope that everybody else can come to the table here before we get to this final vote and make this happen.
Well, just to respond to what Kevin just said, I'll lead in saying, yes, we do have to make full day K happen, but at the same time, there's 100 people in this room. We have 27,000 people in the town of North Kingstown. We are here and elected to represent the community at large. So we have to really temper, our thoughts, thinking about all the citizens here. I do think that we need to, well, that's a good point. But anyway, we do have to establish a finance committee. I think that's a great idea. I do think we have to strengthen the culture of open government in this town. I think we should establish an open government plan and improve innovation and transparency to run this town more efficiently.
Anybody else?
So from my perspective, 100% in agreement with All Day K. I mean, the return on investment that we're going to get was obvious in everything that people said tonight. I feel like the school committee, the town council, we need to sit down, we need to hash this out together, figure out where we can save with things like consolidation. We know there's some savings there, where we can save in other areas, but we got to make it happen, right? We have to look at the town side, we have to take a look at the budget, we have to scrutinize all the line items on the town side as well, and we need to make those lean cuts. But All Day K does need to happen. The return on investment is there.
I just want to thank Mr. McKay for running a good meeting. I appreciate that. A long meeting, but a good meeting. Thank you.
I think at the end of the day here, this All Day K thing, it's a juggernaut that's going to happen whether we like it or not. I am disappointed in one thing, and I'll tell you that I think we've put far too much pressure on our young children with this kindergarten and this Common Core standard. And some of the frustration that's been vented here tonight is misguided at the town council and the school committee to get this project done. We've put way too much pressure on these children. It's come from our government, it's come from the state, and I think that needs to stop. And I think if you would provide the type of advocacy in that direction that you have provided here to give us the enlightenment of the all-day kindergarten thing, that maybe we can move our state legislature and our federal government to do the right thing for our children as well. So at the end of the day, I have to say that, I don't have kids in the school system anymore. But coming from a taxpayer who's been a member of this town for 60 years, along with my family for another 40 years, we've been in the state of Rhode Island for a long time. A huge tax increase is going to hurt us. It's going to hurt a lot of businesses, okay? It's going to be 3.5%. For us, it's going to be a big number. It's going to be a big number for a lot of people who aren't sitting in this room tonight. So I want you, please, it's not a lecture. Just reflect on the fact that if you're going to be here, that take your kids out of the charter school.
Put them into our school. Let's bring those tax dollars back. But don't forget that we have a lot of people on fixed incomes here who are going to be hurt by a tax increase. And we have to, at some point, stop the continued escalation of taxes. Okay? Now, I thought a while ago that we lived in a pretty good town. Okay? I heard a lot of negative comments here tonight, and the last thing in the world that I want to hear anymore are negative comments about how bad our town is. You all moved here for a good reason. That good reason still exists, okay? We're a fine town. We're a good group of people. We're engaged. We have a fund balance. We're in pretty decent fiscal shape. But I hear a lot of people here saying what kind of rotten shape we're in. That's not the truth, okay? And at the end of the day, let's fund the all-day K thing. If we can come up with the money, we'll cut the road budget. We'll do what we have to do. We'll talk to Mr. Embry. We're going to have to do something here because obviously there's a lot of support for it in the room. Thank you very much. Anybody else?
I just very quick. I want to thank everyone for coming. I've also been to meetings where there were 6 people here, and I was one of them sitting at the stage. Stay engaged, please, because this is what the community is all about. Thank you.
Motion. Excuse me.
Just I want to let everybody know, especially the town council, that your next meeting is Thursday, the 16th at 5:30 p.m. Budget is on your agenda. You will not be taking public comment as of right now. We are at the Town Hall conference room because we cannot secure another location. So I just wanted to remind you, Thursday, 5:30.
Okay.
Move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion's adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, school committee. Appreciate it.
Give this second, Jason.